on top of the world, about to jump above it. Take it straight to the moon, 'cause we know how to rock it. Ain't no thing you can do, ain't no way to stop it. Now you're feeling it too, let's get it started. Throw your hands in the air while the beat is dropping. Acting like you don't care when everybody's watching. Just keep whipping your hair like that, you got it. Yeah, you're feeling it too, let's get it started. I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started. Charts off the meter, turn it up, blow the speakers, make them all to believers. Break through the surface, tell them open the curtains, give them all what they wanted, yeah. Now let's get started. I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. Yeah, I'm ready, ready. I'm ready. Are you ready, ready? I'm ready. Let's get it started. Yeah, yeah, I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Let's go. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it, get it. Let's get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Give me something new. Time to break it loose. Take it to another level. Now we on the move. Shout if you coming with me. Going over the limit. On your mark, keep it steady. So tell me, are you ready? I'm ready, ready. Let's get it, get it. I'm ready, ready. Are you ready, ready? Let's get it started.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for round number 3 of the major series for the American Sportsman Split 1 here tonight, as it is that of the Landown 240 at that of Orem Park Raceway. Excited for all the coverage here on LSRTV. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is going to be Wesley Allen and Nolan Rempel. Guys, we're excited for great racing. Wesley, you were part of it for Daytona, the last race we were at. Nolan, you were here for the Glen. We're going to start things off with you, Wesley. We're here going to be racing with V8 supercars, and we're at a track that no longer exists anymore, but it's great to be seeing it racing here on iRacing.
We go from the high banks of Daytona and the Majors Garage Major Series Daytona 500 with the next-gen cars. What a race they put on. And now we go to road course racing. Left turns, right turns, chicanes, bus stops, carousels. All of those analogies is going to be used here tonight in Park in the Landown 240. It's going to be an exciting event. We're looking forward to it. And this is round number 3 of the Major Series.
Round number 3 is here, and Nolan, you were here for the first round at the Watkins Glen, 2 hours. It was a great race then. It was constant racing action, seeing the prototypes and the GT3s, but we're now in the V8s, going to a very narrow course. What are you expecting to see here tonight?
It's a very far cry from the race at Watkins Glen just 1 week ago, and or not 1 week, I should say, about a couple months ago at this point in time, back in January when we were racing, of course, for the first season opener for the Major Series. And, of course, it's going to be a very different race here tonight, right? It's not so much a race where you're going to be kind of sitting back and letting things come to you. This is a very, very short track. You could likely hit lap traffic very, very quickly with 30-plus cars on the grid here today at a very, very short track, one of the shortest tracks that the V8 supercars race at on a daily basis, or at least they used to before the track was torn down in the late 2000s. So who knows? It could be a very interesting race tonight, but I have a feeling it's going to be one of attrition.
It certainly is going to be one of those. As tonight, we're going to be running 2 46-lap races, and it's going to be quick action of drivers having strategies being thrown out, and we're excited for all of it. And also got to give big thanks to all the amazing sponsors, that at Major Garage, and as well the charity of today's race, going to be that of Australian Death. Big thanks to both of them. We'll touch more on them throughout the night. But guys, we've got ourselves still 12 minutes left, but we've got a big picture to throw out to the audience. First things first, we got to look at the points, and we're going to start things off with the driver points for that of the Sportsman Series, where again, this is the third race of the season. For a lot of these drivers, they've been getting themselves set up. As we take a look at the point standings, I'm excited to see the top dogs that are here because there are some fast runners. We've got, last week's winner, that of Mickey, topping the board in points, as well as seeing some other drivers that have made it to each and every race, such as that of David Gagaro and also that of Murphy Nichols. Those three drivers have been very quick up front, and they're going to be the favorites to watch out for even tonight going for this race.
So here's the deal. If you have Rand Watkins Glen Daytona, you're ready for the race here at Oran Park, you're literally going to be in the top of the pendulum, if you will, in the point standings for the America Sport team. Now, if you're one of these drivers that maybe had a decent road course at Watkins Glen, you struggled in the Calamity Field race, Samuel, that you and I called at Daytona a couple of weeks ago for the 500. This is your chance to try to rebound, get back up off the pendulum, off the schneid from the bad luck, if you will. But again, Nolan, honestly, you've got to try to, get these opportunities here. We're still a long way into the season. This is only week number 3. Drivers that are propelling, doing well, can struggle. Drivers that are failing can possibly climb from this event.
And you know for a fact that this is going to be one of those races where drivers are going to be seeking out any opportunity that they can. They've got themselves 2 races over the course of the night, but with the track like Oran Park being so difficult to overtake at, and of course every point really mattering in the big scope of things throughout the course of the season, you know that there's going to be a lot of drivers who might be getting a little bit desperate as we get more towards closing time for this race. You know there's going to be a lot of drivers that are going to be opting to maybe make some more out there moves that you wouldn't typically see in an early run or even at other racetracks entirely at a track like Oran Park, because passing will be a premium. That is something that a lot of these drivers, I think, might have a hard time trying to accept out there.
It's going to be a fun one to watch. More to talk about as we take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more from the post-race show here at LSRTV.
This is our series,
So many different pieces that you have to watch out for.
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it? They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Driver still on track for another that of 8 minutes and 40 seconds of practice time. And for us, it gives us an opportunity to give you just a better picture of what's going on. Looking at the Sportsman's point standings, here are some of the drivers that are topping the board coming into the night. And some of these drivers, like we talked about, have already found themselves to victory lane, and they're going to be trying it once more. And Wesley, looking at the field, yes, we see the top drivers of that of Mickey topping the board. But for that of Andrew Mickey, he's got a lot of work to do because there's some other drivers that made it that are going to be in this race, like Spencer Todd, that's looking like one of our top dogs coming in to this race at Oran Park.
And I'll tell you something else as well here, Samuel. 433 to 421 to 383 for the top 3, 382 and 4th in the points from Mickey, Gargaro, Nichols, Gomillion, Todd at 368, Medina, Yatito. Those drivers, even Horvath, all in a cat's whisker of another. I know it's from 433 down to 352, but if one of these drivers have a bad race, this is an opportunity to climb, like we talked about before the break.
It absolutely is. And Nolan, it's just the start of the season. For some of these drivers that aren't even in the top 20, do you think they still got a shot here for the rest of the season if they want to crack into the top 10?
Well, I would say you certainly got yourself a couple of more chances throughout the course of the season, but with so many points on the line in any given race, but you can see the top 10 almost separated by 100 points already after just 2 races. If you're going to have a chance of being able to get yourself in a potential championship contending position, which you would need to be at the top 10 if you want to realistically have a shot at doing by season's end, those chances are quickly running out, and for some, this could already be their last chance at Orem Park.
And what's crazy to see looking at the point standings is the fact that Andrew Mickey comes in as an independent driver, not even a part of affiliation. The majority of the rest of the drivers are part of teams. And speaking of teams, we'll take a look at our Sportsman's team's points, and it's going to be that of the Forge PC Racer Sports 1, topping the board with that of Evolve Sim Racing Academy and that of Vengeance Motorsports. And Evolve and Vengeance both were the top teams coming out of Watkins Glen. They didn't have the best performance at Daytona. This is going to be their best chance to rebound for both these teams to come back and hope that they can take back the points standings after tonight. And I'm going to go push this to you, Nolan. We got to see some of these drivers that were running so well from Vengeance, that being that of David Gagaro. He's got to be feeling comfortable coming back to a road course, trying to push that team that's in 3rd place, trying to crack them back up into that lead position.
And sometimes being comfortable is exactly what you need, especially at a track like this. We've talked about how difficult of a track Orem Park is, and it is something that we're going to continue to just drill into people's heads as the night goes on. It is, of course, far from the easiest circuits. One of the more difficult tracks we'll be racing over the course of the season, and in fact, in Major Series history, right? I would dare to say, if you compare this to other Australian tracks, this would be the most difficult Australian track you got on the iRacing service. So being comfortable at a racetrack like this is exactly what you're going to need, because with that comes confidence, and with that comes speed. With so many medium and high-speed corners over such a tight track with no room for error.
And also what comes with that also could be a little bit of wisdom coming with it as we look at our legends. And Wesley, what were you going to bring up?
Well, I was just going to say that there's a championship within a championship, Samuel. We talked about the overall drivers' championship. You look at the team's championship. Now you look at the Legend Sportsman Championship. And you look at how close these points are, 382 down to 250. I know it looks like a big gap, but if a driver has a bad night, if a team has a night, Samuel, the points can change.
They certainly can. Just one bad race can change a lot, but tonight we've got 2. Each race actually going to only be giving you 50% of your total points for the night, meaning that if you have one bad race, doesn't mean that your complete points day is over. You still have the second 46-lap race we're going to be running here tonight. As we got less than that of 5 minutes to go, it gives us the opportunity to kind of talk about this track a little bit more. Orem Park, again, was no longer being in use after that of 2010. Has actually been renovated into housing, as people now are living where this track used to be birthed. And also the vehicles that are going to be on track going to be legends as well, as they are actually the 2014 vehicles of the Holden, and as well that of going to be the Ford. So excited to see 2 legendary track and cars going to be hitting this course. And I gotta say, Nolan, this is exciting because these cars that these drivers are running were not even made for this track. By the time that these vehicles were at their peak, this track was already gone.
Oh, absolutely, and it was a very different type of V8 supercars that raced at Orem Park when this track was originally kind of in its prime, so to speak. Of course, I think it is worth noting that, of course, this track was made defunct in 2010. These cars not even introduced until 2014, really showing just how old that this track was being put out of service only a couple of years after iRacing was first founded back in 2007. So you know that it's going to be a very entertaining racetrack, and it could be an entertaining spectacle as well. You've got some very difficult to control cars around a hard to tame track. Who knows what that could mean for us here tonight. You got elevation change, you got every type of corner you got under the sun. We're in for a fun ride, I can imagine.
Oh, it's going to be an amazing one. And I even touched this track a couple of times with these cars, and it is so difficult to find that sweet balance of getting on the brakes hard enough to make sure you hit the corners, as these cars do not like going too fast in these corners, doesn't like even going too slow. You got to find that sweet medium, as well as finding the strategy as we take a look at our ML performance weather conditions here tonight. Currently for practice, 79 degrees going to be our ambient temperature with that 14 miles per hour wind, as it's going to be partly cloudy. We're going to see in the wind and also the cloud coverage changing throughout the night, which also means the track temp could be evolving. And that track temp at 88 degrees is a very nice, comfortable place to be in. And Wesley, strategy could be a big thing here tonight that these drivers going to be worrying about, as there's originally everyone thought it was just going to be a one-stop type of a race for everybody, but after that of the international and the European divisions racing, there's been a lot of talks that you can actually run these races without even stopping.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see the strategy here for these twin 46 lappers, by the way, on this 1.6395 mile layout that is around Raceway Park in the Landown under Australia. Caution flags are going to be off, so we're going to be keeping an eye on that. Obviously, they could have wrecks and still keep going. Restarts, none. The green flag comes from a standing start. They race on to the finish, and that's going to be strategy that you got to watch throughout the night.
And also, what's completely different with tonight is we will actually be able to watch qualifying. These drivers are going to be having 10 minutes and all going to be having their own solo race surface to go out there by themselves for 4 laps to find their fastest lap to be on top of the board. That is something that's completely different, Nolan. Usually it takes all week to figure out who's going to be in what split, and usually with that qualifying throughout the week, you figure out what position you're going to be going into the race. But tonight, you got ourselves 40 seconds until we get to qualifying.
40 seconds until we get to qualifying, and even then, the qualifying is not the traditional 2 laps, 10 minutes that we're used to seeing for road course racing, which is really the universal go-to for a majority of leagues on iRacing. How about 4 laps, 10 minutes around Orem Park? I honestly think that's a good call there, Sam, because with how easy it is to get off track 1Xs here at a track like this, I imagine some people are going to be needing every 4 of those laps and then some.
And also going to be a thing to watch out for is how much tire wear do you want to be using up on the first couple of laps, or do you want to be a little bit cautious of getting those tires warmed up properly and then utilize those final 2 laps to just gun it as fast as you can? As practice is coming to a close, qualifying now right around the corner, as it's your Landown 240 qualifying about to start for these drivers, as you are watching that of the Major Series, the American Sportsman Split 1 here on LSRTV. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Wesley Outland, and as well that of Nolan Rempel with LSRTV Studios in the background, getting you all the cameras, graphics, and everything, give you all the amazing action here tonight. As qualifying's underway, drivers about to hit the track and get a sense of what this course is like. And since we're in the Landown under, Forge PC Racing decided to flip their scheme. Wesley, I mean, this is something different, but hey, get one a little bit cutesy with these schemes that they are.
I'm loving it. Robert DeLoach, the 235. Look at the way these guys are working their way around the racetrack. And by the way, Nolan, Sam, we're going to be hearing analogies like chicanes, carousels, bus stops. We mentioned that earlier. But let's be honest here. 12 turns, 1.3 miles. The names of these tracks around these race courses tonight: Shell Corner, Driftlin Corner, Yokohama Bridge, Conica Corner. Hey, are you a fan of Coca-Cola? The Coca-Cola Corner. The pit lane is known as Ricaro's Corner. All of those analogies going to be used as we watch DeLoach on qualifying.
DeLoach going to be going down the front stretch, starting his first time warm up in. Again, all drivers going to be having themselves 4 laps, and each lap right around 1 minute and 5 seconds to 1 minute and 6 seconds. Some drivers have found a little bit more speed as a drifting around, and DeLoach, well, good thing you got 4 laps. That's just going to get him on course, wiping that lap away as we move over to the 5. Steve Giberson and Nolan, this is what we're expecting to see a lot of, is drivers just still trying to fine-tune how they're going to attack this course.
You mentioned, of course, that these cars don't even like being driven too slow, and that is exactly why. It's a very fine line, right? They like the medium-speed corners. They don't want to be driven too fast. Obviously, then you're just going to go screaming off because they don't have too much downforce. But you need to have a little bit of downforce on the car, and there's very few opportunities where you will actually get yourself a long enough run at Orem Park to be able to realistically do that, before you have to slam on the brakes and slow it back down. Coca-Cola Corner is going to be a very easy example of that one. You see Steve Giberson having a really major off at Momo Corner right before the O'Brien aluminum dogleg. So it is a tough ride for a lot of drivers out there in this field so far. Giverson will have to take his second lap, it would seem, and Richard McClure, how about McClure? Going to look to put himself now on the top step, but it is Doug Buchanan so far with a 1:04.957 at the top of the boards.
Just based off of practice, Buchanan was going to be one of the favorites coming into tonight, and he's already stomped his foot out there as the Dog Bear machine. And McClure is going to be trying his best to try to best the time that he's already put down. And Wesley, these drivers coming into tonight, this is the reason why they needed those 4 laps. Incident points. When they go off course at any moment, that is going to be invalidating that lap. So it's a good thing that we're seeing the Major Series give all these drivers 4 laps to work with, because we're already starting to see off tracks look like they're going to be happening a lot here tonight.
Yeah, this is exciting to watch. You get those 4 laps. Obviously, you want to put down your best lap. Have a couple of hiccups, a time or two. Maybe the first, second lap, you're trying to figure the race course out. You're trying to figure out the bobs and the weaves and the lefts and the rights, and when you need to brake and when you need to hit that throttle and go full power. And then that third lap, try to put down your best lap. The fourth one can be your second backup lap, as the gap to the pole, 1.204 seconds, 106.416 for Richard McClure, and he's still got another lap after it here in the Dog Bear Racing entry.
Checking out some of the other drivers out here. Again, Deloach, who had made the mistake after that second corner, going to be now attacking into turn number 3, one of the hardest braking zones where you've really got to whoa up these cars, get right down the apex, and get back into the throttle and take off through second gear. It is very tricky trying to get all these cars set up. But Nolan, this track is so narrow. It was made for a slower vehicle back when this track was made. And now we've got these V8 supercars that are just trying their best to get through the S's now is the 235.
The fastest cars that I ever saw at Orland Park on iRacing up to this point were the Skip Barber Formula 2000s, and even they were almost too fast for a circuit like this. And even drivers then were struggling to slow down in time for some of these corners, especially the Coca-Cola corners. So these V8 supercars, a whole other level as Deloach gets set to try to clock in his second lap. This time he gets back to the line, I think successfully, 1.5 seconds off of the pole time. But still, that's not going to be a bad result at all with a 106.445. Robert Covey, a 105.817 for himself, but it doesn't look as if that lap did count. The number 72 car still yet to put a time down on the night.
We're going to see if Covey can get it done this go around. And Wesley, another factor that's different for these drivers, they're actually going to be driving on the right side of the car. Completely different. Most drivers are used to driving either in the center or on the left side. Trying to get used to that can sometimes, change a driver's perspective on how far they can push out to the left or right just by being in that different perspective and driving spot. Is Covey off track again, invalidating this lap.
So when you're driving right instead of left or center steer, that obviously makes the entire body, the G-forces, everything change inside the race strategy. You got to learn how to know when to turn. You got to learn how to move your body in the seat. And I can promise you this, even though this is an iRacing simulation for the Major Series Round 3 tonight at Orland Park, these drivers in their iRig simulators, Samuel, they're trying to figure out, okay, if my body moves to the left, then I'm going to see the car turn right. The G-forces, watch as Covey turns through around that turn there. Watch him work. So look, going left, when he turns left, that body wants to turn the G-forces right. And when you're in the cockpit of the car on the right-hand side, oh yeah, you're going to really feel this differently, especially when you come from Daytona, 500 miles, 200 laps, overtime, and you're turning left. Your G-forces are making you turn right towards the wall. And now you're road course racing, you're going up hills, you're going down hills. Yes, keep an eye on that. That's bold strategy here. And if you notice, Samuel, that last time that Covey went around, he hit that corner perfectly. Last time he went off the racetrack.
It's all about finding that perfect little mark. If you're just slightly off for one quarter, it could throw you off for at least 2 to 3 of the future turns as well. Nolan, I want your perspective as well with the little bit of a driver change of being on now the right side. that depth perception and also awareness of how far you are to the left and right, that can change also how the drivers might try to attack on passes. That could be another factor to watch out for as we get ready to go green here in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
It could play a bit of a role into how these drivers drive these cars just a little bit more, as you can now see what it looks like on the right-hand side. And yes, it could be a little bit disorienting at first, but I would hope that after a week or so of practicing these cars and the practice session that the Major Series does put up, that these drivers would by now be a little bit more used to it. And that really is one of the things that makes these drivers so great. And is, yes, it's a bit disorienting at first, but you get used to it before long, and then you're ready to just go at it all over again. And then it'll be a same situation when we switch back over to the left or even to the center side for the next race, of course, in the season. Because, of course, this is, I believe, going to be one of the only times that we're going to be running these V8 supercars all season long. So it's not like it's going to be a common thing that they're going to have to get used to.
No, they are only going to be running these 2014 vehicles, that of the Holden Commodores, as well as going to be that of the Ford Falcon. Still, both of these vehicles ran in the V8 supercars of that of the 2014 season, and these drivers have done a great job, but it's going to be that of Doug Buchanan topping the board currently. Spencer Todd going to be in second place, and Todd's going to be trying to find a little bit of redemption. One of the drivers that was the favorite to win our round number 1 in the prototypes came away just shy in second place. Going to be second currently to that of Doug Buchanan. But Wesley, we got a minute left before we start to grid up for these drivers, where it's going to be a standing start for everyone out here as the rest of the field looks to be, they're done. They placed their times. The field's set and ready to go for racing action for 46 laps.
And if you're new to iRacing on LSRTV or the Major Series presented by Majors Garage for the Landown 240, a standing start means the cars are going to be dead standstill. They're going to drop the green flag. They're going to take off. It should be exciting to watch, especially where we've done races, Samuel, where the pace car is behind in front of the field, drops onto the pit lane, and then you start racing.
Yeah, those rolling starts, all you have to really worry about is your wheel spin. But this go around, you also have to worry about wheel spin. And also, can you get through the gears cleanly? Nolan, 25 seconds before we start gridding up. What are some of your final thoughts as the drivers are looking to be done with qualifying?
Buckle down and hold on to your hats. It is about to get wild as we get set to go racing down under in Australia for well over 80 laps here tonight. Bound to be a fun one. Glad that we're going to be able to be covering every last second of it.
It's going to be a doubleheader here tonight. 2 46-lap races here at Orem Park for that of the Landown 240 to see how they're going to get things done here at this amazing raceway. As the drivers getting set, we're going to take a look at where they're going to be starting and getting the pole position. It's going to be that of Doug Buchanan with the 28 of Spencer Todd to his outside. Row number 2 going to be finding that of Maurice Gomillion and also that of Cody Richardson. And then in row number 3, we find that of Sebastian Jackson and also Murphy Nichols in the 55 machine. Row number 4, find that of David Gargaro Jr. and as well that of Daniel Howard in the 15. Then in the 382, it's Nick Hortvedt as well as finding that of Nathan Medina.
Row number 6 will find Andrew Kotska in the 047. Robert Kobe to his outside in 72. Row 7, Chris Yedio in the 31. Robert Gamble in the 29. We know him from the Northwest Series. Row 8, Joseph Homan in the number 9. Mackenzie Milwane in the number 3. Row 9, Robert Deloach in the 235. And Richard McClure in the number 11. And to round out your top 20 in row 10, Chris Sherburne in 39. And Jason Lottridge in the 10.
And then, of course, rounding out the rest of the field, it'll be Jason McSparron and Javier Perez-Torres on row number 12. You got yourself Stephen Paulison and Brennan Victor. Row 13 will be Gerard Gilbert and Alonzo King. Even further down to row 14, it's James Dougherty and Greg McKinney. And even further down below them, you've got yourself Brian Scrivener and Ernie Ludwig. Row 16 will be Steve Giberson and Brett Trausen. Row 17, you've got yourself the rest of your field.
Got the field set and ready. Everyone trying to get loaded in. We got ourselves about 4 drivers that still need to get themselves on the grid before we get things started. Up front, it's going to be Doug Buchanan trying to have one of his best starts here. If we look at the points, though, drivers that are up front going to be that of Murphy Nichols as well as Maurice Gomillion. 2 drivers in the top 5 of points here for the Sportsmen as we are green taking off, and it's going to be that scene on the inside. That 28 machine, Spencer Todd, with the best launch for himself, seeing himself get the better launch into turn number 1. Everyone else on the lap pedal and into turn 1. Little bit of a dash, the dog leg into the hard braking zone into turn number 2. As they exit out, it's all about getting low, slow, and making it through with no yellows here tonight. The goal, stay on track as they head down into turn number 3.
Working their way into that third turn. This 1.3-mile track is going to really knock off laps quick. Here comes a battle inside the 5. Nichols, Gargaro, Gomillion, Richardson all in that battle. Now they'll final that Congo line to the bottom of the racetrack. Drivers in right. They work up the hill as they work their way around the speedway on lap 1.
And up and over the top of the hill now, you fire your way down through the speedway as you get set into the second half of the circuit. So far, a very, very clean start, Sam. Only one driver going off. It was his own mistake, but he got back on within 2 seconds. So no harm, no foul so far. And it will be the likes of Spencer Todd to lead the opening lap out of the final corner.
Spencer Todd, that of Buchanan and Jackson going to be your top 3 currently, with Nichols, Gagaro, and Gomillion going to be your top 6. Running well, going through the front stretch and into that of the dog leg of turn 1, but already drivers having issues. It's going to be that of Chris Yadio, who's going to be slow, heavily damaged, no longer going to have a back wing. That's going to be a struggle point now going down the front stretch for that of the 31.
Yedio got to get back on the high horse and get back going again. Got to check and see how much damage is on his car. A lot of damage in the back end of that car, but the race rolls on. Meanwhile, Yedio getting some company as he's getting reeled in behind by the driver of Giberson. Chris Yedio now back on the throttle as he goes through the Yokohama corner. No, look at that tight right-hander, a left-hander, all that action going on here in the opening 2 laps.
Oh, gonna be seeing that of the 5 spinning around for a quick second and gonna be losing the tension. And now drivers able to get back on the track and start moving. Those little small moments, you're hoping that you don't lock up, and that is a dangerous spot to seeing these drivers getting around.
A dangerous spot indeed, but so far they managed to negotiate it just fine. You're looking at the battle at the moment for 8th and 9th on the racetrack between Joseph Holman and Nathan Medina. Medina is going to slow up and allow Holman to go through. One driver off, and that's into the turn 2 barriers. That's Spencer Todd, the race leader, who's gone off all by himself in turn 1. Just locked it up, Wesley, into the braking zone as well, Sam. Just slamming into the into the tire wall. Looks like he's got a bit of damage on the right front, but other than that, he might have just gotten away with that.
Just showing in a blink of an eye, you can lock up these brakes so easily. They're one of the easier brakes to just, if you put too much pressure, they're going to lock up and you're going to just go straight, not slowing down. And for the driver that took the lead on the opening start, Spencer Todd, going from the lead back to 7th, and Wesley, that damage, he can get it repaired. They do have a fast repair to work with. The question is, do you want to waste the time to come into pit road if the damage isn't too bad?
And the good thing is this, at least he still stays in the top 10. He didn't have bad luck like the 31 of Yedio that has already fell back inside the top 25. They work their way around the racetrack with Buchanan leading the way. Number 8, Buchanan out in front. There you see him right now in that Volkswagen entry. Turning those corners, looking strong for Mad Sim Racing. Jackson right there within 1.4 seconds back. Nichols, Gargaro, Gomillion, top 5 Nolan as they work their way around Yokohama corner.
Through Yokohama corner, it is going to be Buchanan to now lead the way for this grouping. Here's a bit of a fight further down the order. This is between Medina and now Andrew Kotska. Kotska just worked his way up into the 10th position, and Robert Gamble trying to see if he can get a pass up on the number 23 entry as well, as they get set to sort themselves in the early stages of this race, Sam. It is so far clean and green, set for a couple of smaller spins. So far, nothing as a result of car-to-car contact, save for the one spin that we saw for the poor Forge entry early on.
Yeah, we've seen just a few drivers going off course, but getting back on. It's again Yadio and also going to be Spencer Todd, the 2 biggest damage from drivers' issues, as that's going to be Alonzo King off course, and now going to be heavily pressured by that of Sherburne. And Alonzo King, one of the drivers most aggressive. We think back to the last race that we ran at Daytona. but this is a completely different style of racing. As more drivers going to go off track, it's going to be in front too. Spencer Jackson as well going to be seeing that of Murphy Nichols going to be having issues into turn number 1.
Problems there as those drivers, Jackson and the 55 machine falling back. That's Nichols. He'll either have no harm, no foul, and get back going again. As now also Kotska has company now trying to run down the John Deere entry of Jackson from his problems. Medina, Robert Gamble from the Northwest Racing Series, reeling them in. 42 to go in the early going here at the Landown 240.
So as this field continues to sort itself out, you're still going to be having yourself those few drivers who are still going to be struggling to kind of keep from making mistakes. Other drivers already looking to go on the offensive. One of the drivers looking to do the latter will be that of Nathan Medina, who's going to be no doubt kind of wrestling with themselves, saying, do you want to go and attack the 047 of Kotska, or do you want to defend against number 6 of Sebastian Jackson just in behind, who of course had a bit of an off on this lap in his John Deere Holden Commodore, and now looks set to try to work himself a little bit further up and regain lost ground a little bit further up the order. Here is the 064 machine of Cody Richardson, still battling for spots inside the top 5.
Cody Richardson lost the position when he was on that first initial start, but has found a little bit of comfort. As you've seen, drivers all around having issues. A spin's going to be happening. That's going to be Howard getting off track, because you saw that in our lower, going to be on our lower right side. And this is a great thing to see, Wesley. This is our 3-picture action here on LSRTV, and we got to see one of the wrecks while also battling going on course.
Dog Bear Racing having a problem. He now gets back off the schneid and gets rolling again. Meanwhile, mobile cameras, 3 separate angles. Boy, they got him working hard in the Rocket Media Live Sim Racing Fiction Truck tonight for the Major Series Round 3 here at Oran Park. Props to Charles Wooten as well as Jeff Stabnow. And look at this, 6 laps in, 40 to go. Buchanan, Gagero, Go-Million, Nichols, and also Richardson, your top 5. They're all single file, but honestly, it's been exciting the opening 7 laps.
It's been nothing but thrilling, non-stop action so far. Look at the battle in the turns 1 and 2. That was the fight for 18th between Richard McClure and Javier Perez Torres, as well as Alonzo King for 16th, 17th, and 18th. With the legs of McClure looking to regain lost ground, as McClure's going to go on the inside of Alonzo King. That's in the top right of your screens, or it was for just a brief moment. Battle's starting to pick up all over the place here at Oran Park.
It's just pandemonium everywhere. Drivers recognizing this early portion of the race is going to be your best opportunity to grab every position possible. And right now, the driver with the biggest move so far, Alonzo King, up 10 positions, biggest mover of the night. But on our big screen, that's going to be watching Sebastian Jackson, 10th place currently, trying to move up. But in our top right, also seeing some great battling that's going on through the S's. Drivers trying to make sure they're not running each other over. And again, Wesley, it's finding the rhythm here at this course. Just because of how narrow it is, you certainly could throw this race away in one instant.
Couple of teammates there on the bottom right of the monitor, that third camera angle, if you will, as they're battling side by side for position. While that goes on, Dog Bear Racing entry in trouble. Number 15 having a problem as he is falling all the way back down the scoring pylon. Something amiss there on Daniel Salem Howard, and Salim Howard now on the pit lane. While that goes on, more action continues as Howard parks his car, Nolan, on the pit lane.
Howard, the big park on the pit lane, and a huge lockoff from McClure as they go up and over the bridge, and that's all taking place on the top right. The fight for 16th, which is by far the fiercest fight you've got on track at the moment. King and McClure just cannot break away from each other. They are not giving each other even an inch so far to work with out there on the race course, and I have to say, it is going to be one thrilling battle if that continues to develop the way I imagine it might, the more this race goes on.
Also want to give note for that of McClure, as you were noting, on the second most laps ran during practice. Over 500 laps McClure put into, was trying to get that perfectly. As oh no, in a spin, going to be going around, and that's going to be Covey. Goes up in 14th, now going to be losing ground. He's got to get running, and he's going to continue to spin around. No yellow's going to be thrown as more drivers going through the corner, and oh no, more contact going to be made.
One car doing some donuts. How about some donuts there by Coffee? And here's the thing for Kobe. Samuel, he had those problems during qualifying, remember, right there in those spots? And now the number 10 car has stalled his machine. He's got to get fired back up. He's got to get rolling again. That's Jason Lottridge. They both get going. Here come the PC racers backwards, working their Fords around the racetrack. And again, we're 10 laps coming up in this race.
So the second spin was caused by Milway, got loose into the braking zone and got into Jason Lottridge, and we're taking a whole look at the battles that are continuing to develop up and down throughout the field. Here is the fight for 11th place with Nick Horvath and Robert Gamble in the sprint down into toward turn number 1. Horvath backs out and allows Gamble to maintain his position. A lock up in front from Jackson as he tries to close up to Nathan Medina in the number 23 machine. Mackenzie Milwain is in the pit road with damage from that latest incident. And just in front of this grouping, Jackson's gone down the inside of Medina into the Yokohama corner to get past him and pick up the battle for 9th place as we continue to let this order duke itself out on track. There is Alonso King, and now here is the Vengeance machine under fire by the John Deere Holden. Jackson squeezing the number 23 of Medina out towards the left-hand side, but Jackson makes up the place for 9th.
And also in the background, you saw a car stuffed. It's the 382. Oh no, it's going to be that. Nick Horvath, who's going to be stuck in the wall, has to take a tow to pit road. That it could be one of the race-ending incidences, because if you take a tow from that part of the track, it's going to be over 3 minutes. That is going to be putting that 382 machine at least 3 or more laps down.
Here's the sad reality to this whole scenario. There is not going to be any yellow flags tonight. There's not going to be any time that we're going to slow the field down. Standing start, green flag, go after it for 46 laps. If you make a mistake, you got to quickly shrug it off, get back going again. As now we watch Robert Gamble in that Sector 5 entry. Battle going off of that corner. Coming off around the turn, Robert Gamble, also Nathan Medina, all those battles going on around the racetrack. And again, Nolan, look at this great racing here. I'm very impressed. 10 laps in, we've seen thrills, some spills, some chills, and some awesome leaders right now. So far, it's Doug Buchanan from the drop of the green, holding everybody at bay.
And you just saw the connect machine.
No.
There's a hold it hard into the barrier. That's the number 22 car that just wrecked it hard. That was Jason McSparrow, just crashed out of 27th place. I believe that was going to be down at the Yokohama corner. What on earth just happened there? Let's take a look at the LSRTV Pulse Poppers replay.
Just coming in with a ton of speed, trying to slow down, and seeing a little bit of a spill in front of him, but then gets back into the throttle. And this is where the 22, where you can just get off your rhythm and can throw you completely off, locks up the brakes, just can't slow down, and into the gravel and into the tire barrier.
Into those gravels, into the sand trap, and then into those Uke tires, if you will, all corralled around the Rand Park here in this Landown 240. Race number 1 for the Twin 46s is right now Buchanan, Gargaro, Gamillion, Todd, Homan, top 5. Look at this battle now going on between the 235 of Rob Deloach and Chris Sherburne going on now around the racetrack. They work their way to Yokohama corner.
And this is all starting to get a bit more feisty, even up here in the top groupings up through the O'Brien Aluminum Dogleg is going to be your battle for 14th, 15th place on the racetrack, with 30th place just tucked in line as well. There's the Dog Bear machine of Javier Perez Torres with Murphy Nichols, a lap car just in behind, trying to find a way through. Not going to be an easy task though for Nichols if he wants to try to maintain his spots. I think he's going to have to wait for these drivers up in front of him to make a mistake. Obviously, it's difficult enough in V8 supercars to overtake to get your lap back, right, Sam? It's even harder on a track like this.
It's extremely difficult just because of how narrow this course is, but you hope for those types of mistakes. Torres is going to be loving that. A little bit of an overcorrection by that of King. It locks up the brakes, gives the pass. Going to be moving forward for Torres as we also move up and see what the battle for 10th place is. Deloach and Medina, they're starting to close in on one another. And Nathan Medina going to be a driver that's trying to become the first here in that of the American Sportsman's to be able to win 2 times this season in Split 1 for the Sportsman Series. He's looking to become the first, as the other 2 winners, that of Michael Bloomhead as well as that of Andrew Mickey, is issues coming out of the final bend.
What a save there coming off of turn 12 or Caro corner. Sherburne about got snake bit there. He'll now reel back in, or trying to. Those 2 cars that were in front of him as they work their way back up the hill to turn 1 from the pit lane to turn 1 and 2. That's the Coca-Cola corner. From the Coca-Cola corner, they'll work their way to turn number 2 to turn 3. That's the Driflin corner. The Driflin corner is now where Buchanan is at, as well as Sherburne. All that racing going on to the Yokohama Bridge, to Conica corner. It's all going on, Nolan Rimple, in race 1. And remember, they're going to re-rack them, restack them, and do it again in race 2.
Everything that we're seeing right now is just a prelude to what could take place over in the third race on the course. Sorry, the second race on tonight in the third event. Here you can see Brandon Vitko trying to defend against teammate James Dougherty, and Dougherty trying to provide some rear gunner support against Steve Giberson, who's 2 cars back. You got Daniel Salim Howard, who's right in the middle of this one as well. He's in 31st place, again, a lap down. So not something that James Dougherty has to worry about. So the 2 Evolve machines looking set to try and get themselves sorted with the 18 and the 7, but no doubt, Sam, they want to go a few more spots. 1 car off into the grass, the final corner. It is going to be Scrivener who backs it down the track. He was already a lap down to the number 70 car, and unfortunately, it's just kind of gone all sorts of wrong for him all over again.
Here at what happened further back, as this was a replay of seeing the 72 and some issues happening with them. As drivers here tonight, again, up front is that of Doug Buchanan, leading the way over by that of 8 seconds over Gargaro Jr. But into these first couple of bends, into the dog leg, see it coming in with a head of steam, can't slow down, and just locks it up. I mean, that is a class act move to recognize, I'm just going to spin it instead of taking out other competitors.
And you just see how fast he's going, and then you quickly got to get on the binders. And then here's the thing, guys, when you make that mistake, then Robert Covey has got to shake it off, and he's got to get back going again here. Still a lot of laps left to go here, 31 laps to go. I know this is a 1.365 mile road course, but bottom line, they're turning these laps quickly, like in less than a minute, 40 seconds, 50 seconds. They're turning these laps quickly like you would see it around Pocono or Talladega or Daytona at around the 55, 60 second mark. Watkins Glen could be some of that. And Watkins Glen is bigger than this track is, Samuel. But that's how fast this racetrack is. You have to drive this track, even though what I've seen in the last 10, 15 laps, you have to drive this track like a short track, even though it's a road course.
That they certainly do. I mean, this track, again, it is that of 1.62 miles in length, and it is a quick one for sure. Some of the fastest laps has been put down here for race pace is 1 minute 6 second, 0.8 second time was the last one by Doug Buchanan. Almost was able to crack into that of the 1 minute 5 second bracket. Certainly there is a lot of speed for these drivers, but we're starting to see the low down as drivers off track. That's going to be Cody Richardson losing a position and other drivers struggling to get themselves up to speed. But Spencer Todd, one of the drivers that's trying to rebound, was leading this race in the first 3 laps, went off, fell back to 7th. He's now moved himself up to 4th. The 28 on a redemption run for himself to try to get up back into the top 3.
And I think now that we're more in the kind of the general field of this race, the ebb and flow in terms of on-track battles is going to kind of die off a little bit. We're going to see positions more being switched around whenever drivers go off track or go spinning off, or even through the occasional pit stop that you might see as well throughout this field, right? Because it's at the point where you kind of have to get yourself a bit more sorted into rhythm. You can't focus on just going after the drivers in front of you lap after lap, right, Sam? Because, I mean, at that point, you could find yourself having a little bit of a bad time throughout the course of this race, and it's not going to be something that you're going to want to do, especially when you're on a lot older tires than you will be at the start of the race.
Yeah, these drivers 18 laps into this 46 run. As we got 29 laps to go, saw the 20 there. That's going to be seeing that of Torres going off course, but back on track. Here is going to be Jackson under pressure, watching for this battle for 10th place. Medina trying to crack back into the top 10. But these drivers, there's different strategy calls that are going to be thrown. Saw throughout all the different regions. Thought before coming in today is there goes the 55 off track and try to get back pointed in the right direction. Going to be Murphy Nichols, who's been having a struggle here today. But the fact is, these drivers do have some strategy to be thrown out here tonight. Everyone thought it was going to have to be a one-stop race where everyone was going to have to go to pit road anywhere from lap 10 to lap that of 30. Now, overwatching some of the races here today, drivers actually can go over. That is a hard-pressed pass, and contact going to be made for the drivers battling for that 20th position. Not able to stick as they hold on. But some of these drivers can go a full race without having to come into pit road. That's going to be a factor to talk about moving forward.
Ernie Ludwig, Robert Covey, we mentioned him having some thrills and spills so far here at Oran Park. And Jared Gilbert, all there battling for that spot. They finally got going again. This race continues on. There's the Mad Sim Racing entry, 064. Watching him now in the top 10. That's Cody Richardson right now in the 7th spot. And right now behind him, there's Richardson, and will follow Robert Gamble. And they work their way from lefts to right, up hills, down hills, and still a long way to go and a short time to get in race one, Nolan, as they work their way back around this turn.
Working their way back around and down the hill. And the problem for Ernie Ludwig and Robert Covey at the moment for the two Howler machines, they have got one of the Evolve drivers in front of them, Meg Horvath, but that is a lap down car, so that is not going to make this any easier, and they are under heavy fire from Kinetic Racing's Gerard Gilbert just behind for 22nd place. They're probably screaming at Horvath, get out of the way. We need to have this battle here, and we need to get it sort of quick. Gilbert over the Yokohama Bridge, trying to make a run on Robert Covey, who swings oh so wide all the way across the Yokohama Bridge, and now through Foster's Dip. It looks like Gilbert will have a bit of an easier time, and this is just a little ways further down the order now, and crossing underneath the Yokohama Bridge. It is Cody Richardson trying for the inside of Robert Gamble. That's the fight for 8th place, 7th place, excuse me, which traded hands this lap.
And as these two continue to race back and forth, again, this is the battling for 8th position as we ride on board with that of Richardson. Want to give note, Doug Buchanan has caught up to the end of the line of this field. He's starting to carve his way through lap traffic, no longer just passing drivers that went into pit road, but it's soon going to get traffic filled as that 1-3-car battle that we were noting on there, Nolan, well, our leader's catching up to that. Wesley, this is about to get wild for our leader here shortly, as we've seen drivers further back in the field go off course multiple times. Buchanan's hoping that he's not an instant victim to someone else's mistake.
Hey, where's those quarter marshals at? They better start getting that move over flag or that blue flag to let them know the leader is coming fast and in a hurry. Doug Buchanan is running down the back marker cars. Look at him work his way through the Yokohama Tire Bridge, through the corner. Now working back up around the racetrack. He's reeling in 3 cars, a 3-for-1 special, Nolan, as that's going on as he works his way to the start-finish line, and 25 laps to go here when they come to the stripe.
Number 25 this time by at start finish line, then deeper on the brakes is going to be that of Doug Buchanan trying to get around the Kinetic Racing machine, and it's a huge checkup as Ernie Ludwig stacked up the Kinetic Racing driver. Ludwig making that call to come to the pit road, and was probably the most inconvenient time there for Doug Buchanan. That could have given him some major damage, Samuel, and Doug is a very lucky man that he had some heads-up driving there to recognize what was going on in front of him.
Always got to keep your head on a swivel and expect the unexpected. And every single time now, because we're in the middle of this race, drivers might start to notice, I can't make it to the end of the race. I've got to come into pit road. And for that of Doug Buchanan, luckily was able to jab onto the brakes, did not destroy this 8 machine that is dominating with over that of a 6-second lead. But because of that incident having to slow down so much, it's actually costed over 2 seconds on 2nd place. Gagaro, instead of being 8 seconds back, now only 6.5.
And look at that Mad Sim Racing intro. We got one stalled. He was not going southbound in a northbound lane. He was going northbound in a northbound stall. Ryan Shriver and Shrivner trying to get back going to go. Shrivner with a problem in the 70, high class number, holding entry, now back rolling. No harm, no foul. Remember, no caution flags in this race in the Landown 240. And right now, that number 70 losing a lot of spots. Brian Shrivner on the tail end of the lead lap now, as here comes all more cars running him down with 24 to go.
Experiment just entered pit road this last time by, so more drivers are starting to get themselves set for pit stops. It looks like some drivers wanted to split this race half and half, and I imagine Sam going to be taking tires as well throughout those pit stops. As you look up a little ways, look back a little ways. This is a battle entering turn number 1 this time by. This is the fight for 9th place on the racetrack between Robert DeLoach and Sebastian Jackson at the moment. It is a Forge versus the John Deere number 6 entry, and they've got Cody Richardson from Mad Sim Racing just up the road from them for 8th. So this is a 3-car fight that has not broken away since lights out at the top of the race, and it is not going away anytime soon.
It really isn't. It is just going to be constantly on top of one another. And with this course, 32 drivers on track at one moment, and just showing the more that they get spread out, there is really not a breath of air for any of these drivers. There's constant racing action, as now into pit road going to be that of the number 17, that of Gagaro, who is in 2nd place into pit road. This is a strategy call, having to come in not feeling like the 17 has saved enough fuel to make it to the end.
David Gargaro will bring that vengeance entry to his pit stall. He's got a couple of other cars in front of him on the pit lane. It's going to be tires as well being changed, as well as fuel, and Gargaro has actually disappeared. He might have a problem more than what we're actually seeing, as there's more racing action going on the racetrack there. Samuel, we'll get an update on that in a moment.
And we're going to have to wait and see what exactly happened to the 17, as he is still not back on a course. But we move to the battling that we were just watching for a second there in Nolan. It's going to be that of Jackson still being hunted and hounded. And now the battling for this 10th place, 8th and 9th. They are still on top of one another going up the hill. Great passing being made. It's going to be Medina now up to 9th.
Medina actually going to be up to 10th place now. Sebastian Jackson also got by, so DeLoach has dropped 2 and is about to drop 3. If Chris Sherburne can have his way, the number 39 entry looking to find a hole through it. And all of this fighting has allowed Richard McClure, you see the 3rd car in line, starting to close in as well. It's allowed McClure in the Dog Bear entry to close up as well. So this is starting to really kind of develop. And it looks like, I thought a couple drivers coming to the road, but one driver crashed into pit road. Robert Gamble on a 9th place, crashing out as he entered pit road, locked up the back tires, slammed it, and Austin powered it into the pit wall, Sam.
It is one of the most difficult pit roads to get into. If you cannot slow down fast enough, you are going to just slam into each and every wall into pit entry, and Robert Gamble did that. Luckily, didn't get himself a meat bull flag, meaning you're going to have to get required damage, but certainly is going to be slow. That damage is going to be hindering, and hopefully get back out there on track. Update for that of David Gagaro. Loss of packet, internet issues for the 17. It's practically like having a mechanical failure that just strikes randomly. The 17, who was up in 2nd during this race, back to 30th, 2 laps down, and trying to reconnect back into the server.
Yeah, that's a tough break. Engine woes there, if you want to mention, for that driver, David Gargaro Jr., especially having such a strong top 5 run. Samuel, you mentioned. Meanwhile, also update on Robert Gamble. No harm, no foul, but he does have damage on the left rear of the car, and more cars are getting into the pit lane. Rob DeLoach in the 235 is now showing his way to the pit lane, as we now watch the number 28 of Spencer Todd starting to climb, running down Maurice Million and the leader Doug Buchanan since the drop green with 20 laps to go. And now more cars. DeLoach on the pit lane, and all that's happening on with 20 remaining.
So you can see the Forge machine sitting in pit road, and we continue to watch this fight develop between the John Deere entry as well as Cody Richardson from Mad Sim Racing. That was the pass for 6th place, which took place this lap by. So Sebastian Jackson just flying out there. He has moved up several positions over the last couple of laps, and it seems like Jackson is not about to be stopped now. Cody Richardson trying to close up, but just can't get it done. Sebastian Jackson pulling away, starting to close up on the other Mazda driver, Andrew Kotska, in the 047. And Jackson not about to be denied a top 5, it would seem.
Not at all. Wants to continue to battle as hard as he can, and Jackson's going to want every little piece of it. As we fall back to the battle for 13th, it's going to be Dana Torres, Alonzo King, right on top of one another through the S's, and it's going to be the 80, trying to set up and just pressure as much as possible. Is going to be King onto Torres, and out of the final bend, going to be hitting the front stretch. And Wesley, the draft on the straightaway certainly can help you and also can give you a little bit of a disadvantage, especially if you carry too much speed into the Coca-Cola corner.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye on that as you watch these drivers working their way. That draft will off. Oh, look at that, just like that. See how fast you're reeling in, and look at how fast the man behind him just passed him like he was a sitting duck. Because of that mistake, the number 80 machine capitalized, getting around Javier Torres, and Alonzo King Jr. taking advantage of that spot with 20 laps to go. But here comes now those drivers, teammates, starting to run back down the driver of King. Torres, Daughtery coming back after him again. And we got one going around, the 22 with a problem now in the bottom of the racetrack, and that's going to be Jason McSperrin. Samuel, we've had several times mentioning him having issues here in this race.
It just continues to pile on over and over again. And Nolan, we're starting to see some familiar faces now that have gone around multiple times. I mean, there's a multitude of different factors, just not used to this car. But I think, if anything, it could be the tire wear is the major factor for why these drivers are going off.
I have to agree with you on that one. The tire is starting to kick in big time. You're almost 30 laps in. Of course, these are rear-wheel drive cars. You have a lot of horsepower under these V8 supercar machines, and with all that power being sent straight to the rear wheels at a track like this one, where you're constantly having to feather the throttle out of hard braking zones, it will wear down the tires easy. It is so easy to snap the back end loose even for a second, but that will just chew up your tires if you do it often enough. As you can see, lockups left and right. That's the other thing that we really haven't talked about too much today. There is a ton of lockups going on around the track. That has been taking place ever since Lights Out. That is going to be a trend that continues to happen. That also wears down the fronts, which are realistically the only thing that keeps these cars actually on the racetrack when it gets down to it.
And also continuing to keep eyes on what the driver's point standing is looking like, as more drivers going to be having issues. Going to be seeing that of the 36, going to be going off course for a quick moment there. Going to be trying to get back on course if possible, but very slow and trying to get up to speed if possible. But Wesley, the point standing, some of our top drivers in points not going to be having the best day possible for this first race of a doubleheader for themselves, as Andrew Mickey didn't even make it to top split this for round number 3. Gagaro is going to be having issues as more drivers going in off the track and having their problems with one another, as well as that of Murphy having his struggles. It's Maurice Gomillion in second that is having the best run of our top runners in points.
You know, it might sound like a Cinderella boy that cried wolf song and dance whenever we get excited, Samuel and I and Nolan, whenever a car hits the chicane or goes off or spins out with the awesome production. But here's the thing, that's the only excitement that we can bring you here besides these battles that are going on the racetrack, because there is no yellow flag. There is no reset. They come down the front straightaway here now, and it's going to be 16 laps to go. As you look on the top of the replay, and look at this, you already see the car off course. And then watch this man here trying to fight his way around the Yokohama tire corner, and he just overshot it into the U tire. And there's the problem there, and there's a look at the replay. And on the bottom right, the race rolls on, and look who's out in front. It's still Doug Buchanan, but that's Andrew Kotska up 6 spots, Samuel, as this race is heading to the home stretch.
Going up the hill, you've also got that of Jackson still trying to strike into that of the top 5, as well as Richardson's, Medina, and Sherburne going to be still. All these drivers going to be within 2 seconds of one another, meaning if you slip up, you are going to be losing anywhere from 2, 3, even more, even 4 positions. But Nolan, even drivers further back in the field are having some good runs for themselves.
There's a lot of drivers having some pretty solid runs for themselves so far all the way throughout the course of today. You got a couple of different movers and shakers as this night has gone along so far, and kind of taking a look so far just on my own little screens about who's kind of moved up the most. How about Joseph Homan? Plus 11 spots gained with the number 9 car on the day, plus 17 for Brett Trozen, even though he's still down in 15th place, plus 17, no small feat. Plus 12 gain for Steve Paulus and 10 for Chris Sherburne, who runs in the 9th position. So far, one of the only drivers that has not moved at all so far in the course of this race is Doug Buchanan, the driver that has so far led the race from start to finish thus far. And taking a look up and down just for, again, throughout the grid to check out how the pit strategy is looking. We talked about how some guys didn't think they'd be able to make it to the end. Well, looking at it now, the top 14, Sam, all have yet to stop.
Yet to stop, and they can make it to the end of this race without stopping, but that's if they've saved enough fuel. Been watching again throughout today. There's been that of the international split, there's been the European split. Currently right now is both the Pro and the Sportsman for the Americas going on, and drivers have shown that they can make it to the end if you've saved enough fuel. As more drivers going off track and having issues, as that is going to be, I believe, Alonzo King losing more spots for himself. But also, I've seen some drivers trying that same strategy of pushing it to the end, and they've actually ran out of fuel on the last lap. So it is a very gutsy call, trying to stay out without pitting. They've got to make sure that they are good out there and they don't run out, which means if you've got a big lead like Buchanan or some of these other drivers that are in no man's land, you can back off, try to save some of that fuel, as we got 15 laps to go.
At one time, Doug Buchanan had even balked those drivers at the tail end of the field, the slow traffic, as Buchanan is again still the man out in front since the drop rain on this stand and start. He's not looked back. He has an interval of almost 7.14 seconds back to Maurice Gomillion. Brett Trozen is on the pit lane now, the 9:44 entry. While that goes on, here they come, Nolan, back down the front stretch. Get on the race to the finish with 14 to go. But again, we get ready to do it again next for race 2.
Already starting to come to the close of the first race on the night, and it is not going to be by any stretch of the means the last one on the night as well. Still such a long way to go. How's that for a battle as Sebastian Jackson goes around the outside line of Andrew Kotska, but Kotska got the inside through the shell corner. So Kotska goes back through for 5th place. Oh, but it's a big log over. Kotska slides it wide. Jackson will fight back over the Yokohama Bridge on the exit of the champion curve. And I think Jackson might get him here to run the box and see if he can hold side by side as they're still going to battle with it. Richardson's going to go, and the contact is made for the 5th position.
Well, it certainly has brought in more drivers in the mix. It was originally just 5 drivers in line. We'll add a 6th one as this group of drivers, you got lap drivers and you've also got lead ones that are now collected. Jackson's going to try one more time as we go to our triple cams of what's going on around here at Orem Park for that of the Landown 240. We're watching currently on the big screen the battling that's going on for 5th position. It's that of 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. All in this group as Jackson once again diving it down low into turn number 2.
He'll make that way as they work their way up to the Yokohama tire corner. That battle goes on with Kotska, Jackson, Medina, Richardson, Sherburne, Yedio, Paulison, and Torres. All those drivers now, Nolan, starting to reel each other in. That conga line that started with 4 or 5 cars is now about to become a 7-car pack as they work their way up the hill.
That is one very, very crucial thing to know about a track that is this small, and when it's this hard to overtake, you're going to lose a lot of time whenever you're side by side with somebody, and obviously that means you're going to pull these drivers in really, really quickly. You have to make these passes quickly or you'll find yourself immediately under fire for further positions if you don't manage to make it stick. But it looks like they'll have it sorted for now, and they're going to remain a single file in this field. Still tracking Nathan Medina and Sebastian Jackson as they start to get themselves sorted in the battle for what is now 6th place, on the racetrack, with Cody Richardson now starting to drop back. Oh, big lockup for Jackson, that time by into turn 2, smoking it up all the way through to the apex, but he doesn't go off track. But that front left tire, not going to be too happy with him.
No, the more you lock it up, the more you're going to be burning the rubber away, and it's going to be continuing to be a struggle for yourself up front. As we also move up to the big screen, saw that a Spencer Todd had gotten by Maurice Gomillion, falling back to the battling that's going on also for 4th place. You got that of Homan, who's just riding along by himself, kind of feeling like a no man's land with some lap traffic behind, as the 9 watching the battle for 2nd place ahead of him, and just for some of these drivers keeping themselves out of trouble. Again, guys, this is only race number 1. Race 2, to figure out the starting grid, it's based on where you finish in the first race. So finishing up further ahead is the goal and a key to make sure you've got the best launch for that 2nd race of the night.
Working their way around here one more time as they close in. Hey, RGL Motorsports actually commented on the blue flag. I said the move over flag. He says actually in road racing, the blue flag is a check your mirrors flag and doesn't always necessarily apply to lap traffic. It means a faster car is approaching to overtake and to stay your line, not move over and let leaders pass like in NASCAR. Well, thank you, RGL Motorsports. You learn something new every day, and I guess I just learned that dismantled, no longer a ran park, what the blue flag means on a short track road course as we are approaching the home stretch here, Nolan Rimple. This 3-car battle works their way to the Yokohama Tire Bridge.
And of course, the blue flag, it of course can mean faster traffic. It is of course most commonly applied to get lap cars out of the way of the leaders, but he is correct. It can be certainly used just to indicate that there is significantly faster traffic behind you. I've done that a couple of times on my local road. Track marshal, 1 car off course. That will be a yellow flag, which obviously not a full course yellow, but local yellow, saying there's an incident up the road. Well, that's what it's called, local yellow flag.
That's
it
right.
Just means there's an incident right up the road, slow down, and then once you're past it, feel free to get on your way and go about your business.
And that driver that went off was the 9, that of Joseph Holm, that had his issues now going up over the hill. Do want to give note, though, that battle for 5th place that we were watching for the longest time, Sebastian Jackson has gone into pit road to get service done, losing over that of 6, 7 positions as we take a replay of some of the action that's been going on in front of our leaders, as this is going to be what Holm got himself into issues, and also was watching some of the other action that got these drivers all frisky and out of shape.
Yeah, just watch on the replay here. That's the big part of the screen. Look at them brake check each other going around the racetrack, and he wasn't having any of it. And all of a sudden, to each their own, as you see the 9 at Jackson, I think this is the reason why he had to come down to the pit lane, because all of this racing action was going on behind him, and all the while there was some brake checks going on. There was some bumps, and he was trying to get behind him. A little shove there, and all the while, Nolan, they hold it together. We're under 10 laps to go. There's that 9. Hey, buddy, at least your brake lights are still working. Joseph Homan watching him working around the racetrack. And who's coming with a vengeance? They work around the racetrack also. That number 23, watch him coming. Nathan Medina trying to run down Kotska with now 8 to go.
Does he have what it takes to run down and pass Andrew Kotska? If there's ever a track where passing or catching is one, passing is another applies, this track and car combo would certainly be it. Nathan Medina trying to see if he can just stay close enough to Andrew Kotska to the point where he'd actually be able to mount a realistic charge as the race gets set to clock into the final 5 or so laps in just 2 or so rotations time. This is the fight for 2nd place on the grid between Maurice Gomillion and Spencer Todd. Sam working their way through Shell Corner under the Yokohama Bridge.
Yeah, right now Spencer Todd just trying to get himself back up front. Again, led the first 3 laps, then went off course, fell all the way back to 7th, and has climbed his way up to 2nd place for himself and has done a great job for the 28 machine in all the speed that he's got. Maurice Gomillion needs to just finish up in the top 3, top 5, and he could be finding himself earning enough points to actually become our new Sportsman's driver points leader. And I gotta say, for the 044, it's been a great run for himself. Just been keeping himself under the radar and just trying to have a consistent run each and every week.
Yeah, Maurice Gomillion from C Racer doing exactly what he needs to do. It's all about consistency, whether it's on the High Bank Superspeedway of Daytona or this road course here at Oran. He works his way, hits his mark around the corners, tries to reel in John Deere Green on a hot Sunday night of Sebastian Jackson. They work their way to the Yokohama Tire corner. Back around there. Laps are winding down. Does anybody got anything for Doug Buchanan? As that goes on, what a battle goes on again up the hill.
It's all starting to kick off in the final moments of this race. It'll be 6 laps to go. This time by. As back up and over the hill, it does look to me like Spencer Todd started to break away from Maurice Gomillion. The battle for second might be just about over. There's almost 2 seconds now between those two drivers. That is a tall order to reel in. The only hope Gomillion has realistically of being able to catch back up is if guys like Sebastian Jackson in 13th place slow up enough that they'll hold up Spencer Todd in the process.
It's really the goal. Can you hold up that driver just enough? And it looks like with Jackson having a lot of issues, going to have to just come back into pit road, not feeling good. And Sebastian Jackson, too much damage, has to come into pit road for the 6th. And that is a disappointing run for the driver that was running up in the top 10.
Look at that Tranco car we just showed you. That car of Spencer Todd. There's a complete front end gone on the right front of that car. He still keeps on fighting. There's a number 8 machine. And there again, yeah, look at this car. Look at Todd's car, Tranco entry. There is no sheet metal on the right front. It's all beaten and banged and bruised. And he's still in a good spot. Nolan Rimple to P2. Trying to run down Buchanan with the laps winding down with now 6 to go. And now we got one in the sand pit. Problems, that's the number 10 machine. Car number 10 of Jason Lottridge. He better get back going again. Now the 35 is in trouble. Samuel also, that's a problem also for the driver of the 35. Oh my goodness, that's Rob DeLoach.
It just continues to pile on. Drivers just not able to get away from the chaos that's going on around them. Again, going to be that really seeing these old tires just kicking in, and also the grass, just tapping it can get you out of shape. You saw the 35 get out of cycle there, and Nolan, I mean, with 5 laps to go, you're pushing for everything you've got at this point.
And by the way, that was Greg McEnany. I want to give credit where credit's due. He's the one that spun around in the AC racer, Samuel and Nolan. And Nolan, you got to wonder how much damage is on that car as he's now has a lot of smoke coming, but keeps on going with now 5 to go.
5 laps to go. If there is a whole lot of damage on that machine, the good news is he does not need to wrestle with it for very long. It is not a long time to go before this race is completely finished up. Well, for about 10 minutes at least, until it gets set to go back racing once again for another 46 laps around the racetrack. As this battle's continue to pick on up, this is the fight for 5th place between Nathan Medina and Andrew Kotska. Still looking close between the two of them, Sam, entering the closing stages of this race as we get set to see Cam Medina get past Kotska and pick up a top 5.
And there's only going to be about 2 to 3 spots on this track where you can make a pass, and we're coming up to one of them. It's going to be the final corner coming up to the stretch, and just not close enough is going to be that of Medina, but he can set up this coming into corner number 2, Coca-Cola corner, as there's going to be a driver stuck in the wall. It's going to be the 15 of Howard. Daniel Howard going to be stuck on the hill trying to get up over the bridge as more drivers going to be coming around him. Worst place to find yourself getting stuck as we go back to the battling that's going on for that of the 23. And finally, Medina making himself move, trying to move forward and cracking the top 5 after that 0.47 was just holding back for so long.
And here's a replay of Daniel Salim Howard, and watch what happened to him as he got right here around the corner. All of a sudden, that Dog Bear Racing entry just overshot, jumping up the hill, and then he got stuck up the barrier. And then he had to try to put that car in reverse and try to get back going again. Whether you're going through a gravel trip, Nolan Rim, or even sliding through the grass, you've also got to be courteous and aware of the fast traffic that's about to overtake you as well with a vengeance. And while that goes on, Buchanan, Todd, and Homan ready to come to the home stretch with 3 laps to go.
3 laps to go. This time by, the field continues to get itself cycled on now as one by one, drivers start to figure out where they're going to be in just a few laps time. How much time do these drivers have left to get themselves a pass sorted? It's not too long at all. Only 2 laps left to go this next time by at start finish. If you got to make a pass, you got to start it now. You're not going to realistically be able to if you just want to set it up for only the last lap alone.
And also going to be seeing the 23 moving up to 4th place, and that's because Maurice Gomillion had to come into pit road. Fuel still going to be a question mark for the majority of the drivers that are in our top 7. They have not pitted. Maurice Gomillion in 8th place is the first of those that have come to pit road. He came in topped off, had a big enough lead, luckily, to not lose too many positions, but that's the question. With 2 laps to go, the white flag is going to be indication we might see a handful of these drivers just lose ground because they run out of fuel.
Yeah, that's something we're going to have to definitely put on, as we just saw Nathan Medina work around the racetrack, and there's Doug Buchanan again. That Volkswagen for Mad Sim Racing, hitting his marks, picking off cars one by one, trying to use that draft to lap traffic to try to conserve fuel. And here's the thing, he has not pitted at all. Down the home stretch they come. 2 to go here at Iran Park as he works his way through the S's.
Coming out of the final bend, it's going to be that of Doug Buchanan coming across the line, bringing ourselves to that of the white flag. And for Doug Buchanan, he's got to be loving this. He's got himself an 11-second lead over Spencer Todd. He can back off and not have to utilize as much fuel. And knowing this is exactly where the 8 wants to be.
This is a dream situation for the number 8 car. This is exactly where he wants to be. It's where he's been working to get to all race long. Not out of the woods yet, though. This track can still bite you. You've just got to keep your head cool. You got to keep yourself sorted for the next few corners. Don't focus on past the lap cars overhead. Not worth going for the risk when you've got 11 seconds to work with, and it's not worth the risk on throwing away a race win for it.
Doug Buchanan, he's ran 45 laps of clean racing. He just needs to make it through one more. He's halfway there through the S's, the most technical aspect of this course, where you make one mistake, you're off the very narrow racing surface and you're in the grass. But it's been Doug Buchanan. He's been smooth, he's been clean, green, and keeping himself out of trouble, even with flat traffic causing him scares out of the final bend a few laps ago. The 8 gonna be winning our first race of the doubleheader here for the Landown 240. It's gonna be Doug Buchanan dominating through practice throughout the week, then coming in tonight with the domination at practice, and he's going to find himself winning race 1 and having the pole position for race 2. But the racing doesn't end. There's more action, Wesley, going on even through the middle of the pack.
That's exactly right. Races going on for those spots in the top 5 and 6. Richardson and Kotska going at it now around those final corners as they settle their way here at Iran Park. It's going to be 2nd and 3rd to Todd and Homan. Sherman's going to cross the line. Richardson and Kotska are now settling in. They still fight it out down the straightaway for the final time. The Ford's going to hold off the Volkswagen and give a top 5 finish to Sherman and Richardson as the rest of the field laps down, beaten, battered, banged, and bruised, bandaged, somehow come to race 1 complete here at Iran Park. Here, Samuel.
It's just everyone coming through, and where you finished is where you're going to start for the second race. And for some of these drivers, they just had to survive. And even with the heavily damaged vehicles, some of them luckily still had a fast repair, so their race wasn't completely over. But as the drivers are now cooling off, pulling over the side, there goes some drivers that are trying to get into pit road after the racing action was done for some of them. Others were still trying to finish, as that of Medina had to cut his way through. But race 1 is done, as it's going to be that of Doug Buchanan finding himself to that of victory lane, as these drivers are going to have another 10 minutes of warm-up before we got another doubleheader finishing up race 2, as we've got another 46 laps to go. We'll be back in just a few moments here on LSRTV. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here on LSRTV. You just got to see the first race of the Landown 240. We still got one more 46 lapper to go. Start things off with you, Wesley. I mean, what a run it was. That first race, chaotic, but it came down to Doug Buchanan just dominating right from the start.
Yeah, the drop of the green, standstill start. Buchanan jumped out in front. He never looked back, had such a strong run. I'm thinking in my head, Nolan Rimple, the strategy, he's got to be pitting. Oh my goodness, he's going to run out of fuel. Somehow or another, he ran everybody in the back of the pack down. The slow traffic, he used it to an advantage. Drafting, conserving fuel, this man got it done. And I think you're going to say my pick is going to be Buchanan in race number 2, but obviously he's going to be in the back.
Yeah, we also got to be thinking about Spencer Todd. He's going to be starting in second place. Again, where the drivers finished is where they're going to be starting. He did have the lead for the first 2 or 3 laps of the race before he went off at the Coca-Cola corner and threw basically the race away. He had to fell back to 7th, climbed up to second place. So there's still a lot of work. Excited to see how they're going to do as, again, this is round number 3. We're going into race number 2 where the points are cut in half. You're only getting 50% of them for the first race. You got to get the other 50% for the second one. We got 32 drivers excited for racing action. But, guys, we saw some of them go into pit road. I'm going to start it off with you, Nolan. Drivers, they do have a faster pair, so the race isn't over. But with the fact that you don't have to pit, that's got to be frustrating knowing if you get too much damage, you got to come in for at least 30 seconds of giving up time to get those repairs done.
Exactly, and that could be a very, very critical thing that some of these drivers are going to be considering. Of course, it was very, very respectful, actually, in the first few laps or so. We didn't see anybody, having any kind of problems car to car. It was more just drivers going off all by themselves. I was very surprised in particular at how clean turns 1 and 2 were. Obviously, historically on iRacing, those 2 corners on iRacing just have not been very kind to keeping large fields like these tightly packed together, but they certainly made good use of it in the race 1. Hopefully, we'll be seeing similar conduct in race 2 because, boy, it was an exciting way to kick off the event.
It absolutely is.
Samuel, I agree with the same sentiments, but I know I'm literally, we said this in race 1. This is a short track that's a road course, or it's a road course, you're going to drive it like a short track. We saw these drivers that made these hiccups, Samuel. The question is, can you learn from it? Can you adapt from it? Can you remember where to hit your marks and not make the mistakes that you made in race number 1? And if a driver can do that, could they possibly propel and try to be the next Buchanan to win race 2 in this 46 lapper? I think it's going to be exciting. It's been entertaining. We thought the first race was exciting. I thought it was going to be first 5 laps, they'll fan out, be single file. Boy, did they prove me wrong. Good show for them guys on the Majors Garage Series.
Yeah, if anything, they really proved that it is difficult to make passes, and it feels almost impossible. And it was until those drivers got some wear and tear when he saw a lot more opportunities being gained. Nolan, with all these drivers going to be starting up on the second race, fresh tires once again, what are you expecting from these first couple of laps after what we saw from race number 1?
I would not be surprised if we saw the aggression kicking up just a little bit more, right? Because now these drivers have been able to race for a full 46 laps. They know exactly now what they can expect in this one. So I have a feeling here, Sam, that we could be finding ourselves a little bit more aggression in that opening run, which only means even more aggression towards the end of the race.
Samuel, I think it's going to be the same as part 1. Part 2 might be even better.
We got one more race to go. Race 1 is done. The Landown 240. We got one more to go. We'll be back in just a few moments to get you to that race number 2.
This is our series,
So many different pieces that you have to watch out for.
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it? They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Well, it's time. The drivers are gritting up. It's time to see who's going to get the best launch here for race number 2 of the Landown 240, the Major Series, round number 3 of the American Sportsman Split 1. And the drivers are prepared. It's going to be where the drivers finished on the first race is where they start. And it's going to be that of Doug Buchanan, Spencer Todd, Holman, Sherburne, and that of Cody Richards, your top 5. As the green flag is out, they're taking off, and we are green here at Orland Park Raceway as they run down into the dog leg. A whole entire goal. Make sure you're up front. That's what Spencer Todd is trying to do over that of Doug Buchanan. He does it again with a fabulous start from that of the 28.
Remember the way the lineup was set. It was set by the way they finished in race number 1. They worked their way to turn 3 to the Yokohama Tire Corner Bridge. Now settles into 4 and 5. Todd gets the jump out in front, and he's going to pull away by half a second on Buchanan. Homan, Sherburne, Kotska, Nolan as they work into turn number 5 up the hill.
It was quite the calamity deeper in the field, and that's already going to see several drivers down and out with pace and damage on their cars. But overall, we are still clean and green throughout this field. 26th on up, still in one, a long conga line, Sam, down and towards the second half of this lap as we get set to kick off the first of these laps. It will be Spencer Todd for Evolve to lead the way. Doug Buchanan might have some work cut out for him to take that lead back.
Is deja vu from how the first race started, and Spencer Todd hopes that it doesn't continue like the first race was. It was lap 3 when he locked up going too fast in the Coca-Cola corner where we're heading into now. The 28 already having a great launch ahead. Wesley for the 28 machine, he spent the majority of that first race with front end damage. He's got a clean car. Spencer Todd, he wants a win here for race number 2.
Under the bridge now, Todd has opened up that lead on Buchanan, race 1 winner by almost a second. Now, Homan, Sherburne, Kotska, Medina, Yedio, drivers that had mistakes in race 1, now will work their way up the hill, and they're trying to get this conga line to reel in the draft on the leader, Todd. While that goes on, it's him out in front and trying to open up that lead to 1.1 seconds now, Nolan. Todd out in front in the early going.
Todd is out in front, and is so far doing a good job to make sure that that machine can stay out in front. Oh, look out, 5th place off. Nathan Medina swings wide all the way through the second to last corner. He'll come back on, though, and keep it out of the barriers in the last corner and back onto the front straightaway. Nathan Medina, though, has lost a huge load of time up to Andrew Kotska. Good news is, Sam, still early. You still got 43 laps to go.
Luckily, that last corner has so much runoff. It was a creative way to get through the corner, and that is not the way you want to go through. It's going to be Maurice Gomillion, who was trying to have a spectacular day to point his way and become the points leader. If he had finished up in the top 10, he qualified up in that of 8th place for the second race, but now falters back to 15th. You're going to be losing even more ground potentially, as that of the 044's got to be careful. He's got a train of drivers that want to get by.
Couple of Tranco cars now trying to come out. Also, Sector 5 is in this dogfight as they work up the hill quickly. Some banging, some smoke lights through the air, and then the dust settles, and then they go single file, but not for long. They're almost 2x2, like no one leading the animals to the arc around the corner with Gomillion out in front as they work back single file up the hill.
Gomillion trying to see if he could get himself with a better run than he did in race number 1 on the night here tonight, as Gomillion sitting 17th, will continue to work his way around down the hill once again. Forgo Million in his 044 machine trying to close up to the evolved number 7 of James Dougherty up in 16th place, with Brandon Victil just in front of his evolved teammate. And it is now starting to be a pretty clear split in this field. You've got first, second, third all by themselves, then fourth all the way back to about 14th place, still under a blanket.
They're really keeping it close for themselves. Watching that, going to be Medina as well as Kotska going to be right on top of one another. A little bit of a flip-flop on where they were at. Now it's going to be Richardson pressuring that of the 047. Andrew, that of Kotska is going to be one of the drivers that constantly is being hounded through race 1, and it continues even to race 2. Wesley, I'm going to get concerned for a driver. If he's being pressured this much, the mistakes could mount up if he continues to not be able to hold off this pressure behind.
Medina, the progressive entry in front of these drivers from Mad Sim Racing. They're trying to go for that progressive sandwich and trying to be the meat there. Here comes now Richardson and Kotska trying to run back down entries. Those cars working their way around the corner. There's a little smoke flying through the air, and the dust settles. Closer and closer. Dog Bear Racing entry in trouble. Off course. Gets back going again. No harm, no foul. Richard McClure tries to shake it off. Nolan, but he gets passed by more cars. He falls all the way back top 20 as Milt Wayne, Howard, now McClure falling all the way back to 19th as we got another one with a problem. It's Paulison in the Ute tires off the sand trap.
Once again, the Ute tires claim another driver at Shell Corner. How many times have we seen drivers stuff it in there over in turn number 3? More than we've seen them stuff it into the tire areas at turn 2, which you think would be a lot more of a commonplace incident in turn 2, being the hardest braking zone on the track. Here's the replay. Just way deep on the brakes, locking it up. No way you're going to make that corner from that far back unless you're willing to do some off-track excursions to cut the corner.
And luckily, going to be seeing that Stephen Paulson does have a fast repair in pit road if needed. It feels like that damage is just too much to handle. As we watch the battling that's going on for 6th place, watching these drivers on top of one another in that Mad Sim Racing team. At this point, yes, they're going to be stuffed right now by that of Nathan Medina, but at least good points as a team as a whole. Mad Sim TV, they're just looking for themselves to just continue to have smooth, good runs. Overall, get those maximum points. It helps when you've already had that of your teammate of Doug Buchanan win this race. Just continue to have more and more teammates in the top 10. That's going to be points that get added on to your team total at the end of the day.
Todd Buchanan Holman right now along with Sherburne top 4. Medina in the Vengeance entry number 23. You see him right now. He works under attack in that progressive entry by the Mad Sim Racing TV team. Here comes Kotska. Richardson, are they going to try to split him? They're trying to get a move on the inside. That's driver right in the machine of Medina. He'll clear him as they work around the corner through the first turn of the S's, through the Yokohama Tire Bridge. And here comes Nolan side by side. Kotska, Medina. Richardson wants to go 2 for 1 as they come up the hill.
Kotska locked up, went deep in the shell corner. Oh, look out! Medina splits wide, and he gets turned up into the grass. Both Kotska and Medina go off, and it is a 2 for 1 special for Cody Richardson in the 064 machine as they come back on track, and no harm. Well, little harm and a little foul, but not too much damage, I think, is the more important factor here. Luckily, that is one of the slowest corners, Sam, on the racetrack, or that could have been a lot worse.
Well, you can already see that rear bumper completely ripped off for that of Medina. He's going to hope that damage isn't too bad and the rear end isn't too messed up for him to not continue racing. As also going to be seeing Medina, he's got to be careful because he's going to be having that Evolve team behind him. Going to be seeing that Victil as well as Donner going to be just lingering and waiting to pounce. As right now, I mean, that of Evolve, Sim Sports Academy, they haven't had the strongest day here at that of Oran Park for the Landown 240. We're coming into points-wise as the second best team. This has been a struggle, but at least as a team, they've been working together to move through the field.
And remember, there's 3 separate points battles that are in the Majors Garage American Sports Series that we're covering here tonight on iRacing on LSRTV as we ride on board up the hill through the bridge with Brendan Victor. He tries to close in on Medina. Medina at one time all the way in the top 5. Nolan Rimple not anymore. Medina under attack by Vitkel for 14th as they work their way through the S's up the corner.
Through the S's and back out the corner. Vitko being put under fire by his own evolved teammate, and both of them trying to close to Nathan Medina, who of course had that incident just a little while ago. Does not find himself with a very fun time of things at the moment. He was faster than Vitkel on this last lap, but you'll have to hope that he can keep that pace up as Maurice Gomillion also trying to close up to the evolved duo. So it looks like Medina could end up being the driver that checks up this entire second back half of the field.
And now we're going to actually move up to the lead because Spencer Todd, who had climbed himself to have over a half a second lead, in trouble. Doug Buchanan, who won the first race of our duels today, he's trying to go double down here tonight as it's going to be seen the 8 machine right on the back bumper of Spencer Todd. And as well, it's going to be seen Homan trying to join into the fray, but coming out of the final bend on the straightaway, trying to utilize the draft. But Spencer Todd with a better launch of the corner, pulling away to 28.
9 laps in now in race 2 here at the Landown 240 race 2. Todd now under attack as here comes like a coiled cobra ready to pounce on his prey. Or if you say in the Landown under, a kangaroo ready to fight for a Vegemite sandwich. Buchanan closing in on Todd. They work their way through the corner. They'll work their way back around the turn. Setting sights uphill from the Yokohama Tire Bridge. Up the hill they work. It's Todd, half a car length, half a second back. Buchanan, though, Nolan trying to reel him in like bait on a pulse popper hook, and Homan ready to pounce like a coiled cobra on them if those two slip through the S's in the corner.
Oh, look out, stepping it out, Simons is Doug Buchanan, and then just like that, Spencer Todd gets his half-second lead back, and then some. Pushing too hard early on for Doug Buchanan. I mentioned earlier on, Sam, how these drivers might be getting a little bit more aggressive. That looks to be the case for Doug Buchanan, who now finds himself under fire from Joseph Homan, and that battle for the lead will have to wait just a little bit more as we continue to observe this field duking it out around Orem Park with one by one the laps ticking away, and no doubt starting to weigh on these drivers' mind as to when they want to make the moves with these positions to get into the top 10.
We go back to that of the Forge PC Racers, that of Sports One team, where you got that of Murphy Nichols. And Murphy, one of the drivers that had a terrible, dismal start to that of race number 1. Trying to recover is the 55. Currently has moved up 12 positions, tied with the biggest move of the day, as well with that of the 382 of Nick Horfoff, as well going to be tied with that of Richard McClurk. Going to be those 3 drivers up 12 positions for each of those drivers from where they started. Right now up in 8th place, the 55, trying to figure out how to get by his teammate. Going to be seeing if that of Yedio going to be in trouble, or can the 55 make the pass? Wesley, sometimes as teammates you wonder, will they give you team orders of getting out of the way? As for that of Murphy Nichols, he's trying to become the driver that could potentially take the points lead if he has a good run here for race number 2.
Yeah, it changed what we saw in round number 2 of the Major Series presented by Majors Garage in Daytona for 500 miles, 200 laps on the Super Speedway. Your friends become your foes become your friends. New alliances are made and they're sometimes broken. And while that goes on with 35 to go, we see Tranco, we see PC Racer. We also know that they're in their own little world, but maybe these competitors in these racing leagues need to try to sync together, Nolan Rimple, to try to run down some of these drivers like Todd Buchanan and Homan, who are the top 3 with 35 to go as they work up the hill.
On the main screen, you still got the battle raging on between 7th and 8th. Just behind them, how about 9th and 10th with Horvath? Just taking it inside away from Robert Deloach, just behind the battles on the main screen, and starting to kind of get up there a little bit as Ford starts to slip away, it would seem. Murphy Nichols and Chris Yattito still holding in nose to tail in the fight for 7th and 8th place. And now even further up the road, once again, Doug Buchanan has reeled in the gap up to Spencer Todd. Todd locks up, and Buchanan will be able to pounce, but not enough to go for a pass up into turn number 2. Doug Buchanan will have to wait a little bit longer. You have to be patient here, right, Sam? You cannot afford to make all of these very aggressive moves early on. There's still a long way to go. We're not even a third of the way into this race. I have a feeling Buchanan might be thinking more short game than long game.
I mean, 13 laps in, if you look back at race number 1, at this point, Doug Buchanan already had over that of a 7-second lead over the rest of the field. It is a complete switch up. Now, going to be the one who is trying to pounce and be aggressive on the back bumper. Going to be trying to get by that of Spencer Todd. Again, the battling for the lead going to be on your big screen on the left. Other battling that's going on going to be in your lower right, in the middle of the field for 15th place. And then in your top right is going to be seeing drivers battling for that in the middle of that, I believe, going to be for that of 18th. So lots of different battling positions, but for the lead, Wesley, it's on. Doug Buchanan still on the back bumper of Spencer Todd.
They'll work their way back turns number 1 and 2. The train tree will still hold on as they work under the Yokohama Performance Tire Bridge. Now open up that gap to almost maybe half a second, maybe less than that. As waiting patiently is Buchanan, and also sitting there in third is Joseph Yeoman. Now up the hill they work on turn number 4 and 5. Can he use that momentum? No, he can't. Perfect precision driving by Todd, picking him off the corners, inside, outside, through the S's as they work now. Nolan back around. Buchanan just cannot seem to the door down. He gets close to opening it, but he just can't reel in to get past Todd.
Catching is one, passing is another, and Doug Buchanan certainly finding the lesson out the hard way. He didn't really have to battle it out too hard, did he, earlier on in the first race on the night? He could just walk away with it. Now, though, Doug Buchanan starting to really realize what it's like to kind of be the follower. And I imagine it has to be frustrating because he also realizes at about half a second back is Joseph Holman, who was also getting closer and closer. And about that time by, Holman actually had to swing wide to avoid running over Buchanan. So no doubt that is playing on Buchanan's mind right now. He wants to have a one-car buffer between himself and the charging Joseph Holman right behind him.
Yeah, and you're watching the battle for the lead on the big screen. On your right side, though, from multiple different points of view, all the drivers from 17th back to 22nd battling against one another going into turn number 1. Just showing there's constant action and also constant spills. Off-track issues going to be for that of Giberson as well. Going to be that for that of McClure. As they go off track, we continue to watch the battle for the lead on the left.
Gibson, McClure have problems. There's still more cars spinning on the top, second camera on the right. Meanwhile, the battle continues for the lead. Buchanan trying methodically inside, outside, off the final turn. Works their way down the front straightaway. 32, now make it 31 laps to go with 15 laps complete. A three-car battle did not happen. Homan losing ground on it. Meanwhile, they work to turn number 1 and 2 as it's still going to be Todd out in front, Nolan, as they work up under the Yokohama Tire Bridge.
It's already starting to get to a point of where do you look if you want to find a battle on course. At the moment, the one for the lead, I imagine, is going to be the one to watch. How long will Doug Buchanan for Mad Sim Race be content to sit behind the Evolved Sim Sports machine? And likewise, how long will it be before the Simability car just behind him tries to work his way through as well? But of course, at home, it looks like he's starting to drop off. Doug Buchanan now can focus purely on offense. It got awfully close there. Up through Momo corner, and now as they get set to fly through Recaro for the 16th time today, Todd's doing a fantastic job on being able to keep a charging Doug Buchanan at bay. He is not letting the pressure get to him at all. He's really in a sort of, all right, you want this spot, come and get it mood.
What do you got to think? If you add in the laps that were ran for that of our first race, I mean, it's been over 50 laps of Spencer Todd just molding and melding over the fact that he made the mistake on lap 3. He had the same opportunity during race 1 to be doing exactly what he's doing now on track. This is race number 2, redemption for the 28, and he's been doing a fabulous job holding off the 8, but we're only on lap 17 of 46. There's still a lot of racing to go as we continue to watch the battling that's going on our for that of the big screen. That's the battle for first place. Other battles that you're seeing on track going to be also for that of the top 20, going to be in your bottom right. Going to be seeing drivers hard into the corner, and as well going to be seeing drivers even further ahead up in the top 10. Going to be drivers battling for that of 8th position on your top right as well.
And you also saw Rob Deloach come to the pit lane as well in the 235 entry. Here comes the field working their way back around the S's, back down to the start-finish line actually for the lead. Well, guess what? There's going to be more lap traffic, but they get out of harm's way. Nolan, they come down to the lane. Spencer Todd, Doug Buchanan, Joseph Homan. There they are, 1, 2, and 3. Homan slipped. He opened the door down to let Sherman try to close in on him. He's going to try to come 8 seconds back. There's more lap traffic trying to get by, all the while Todd will not be denied. He still leads them as they go up the hill.
Still leading, but not without pressure, as Doug Buchanan is just all over the rear wing of the Evolve Sim Sports number 28 Holden Commodore V8 supercar, as Matt Simerson continues to try to work his way around and trying to see if he can potentially score himself another race win and go back-to-back. It's not an easy task for Buchanan. Got other battles elsewhere throughout this field. You're currently tuning in to this fight with Daniel Salim Howard in 16th and Brendan Victil, yet another Evolve driver, up in 15th place. This has been steadily closing in over the last couple of laps as well, as this grouping started to break away from the main brunt of the second half of the pack.
Yeah, we're also starting to see 17th, 18th, and 19th slowly starting to carve into this group as more drivers going to be off track, slow issues. This is back around 25th and 26th. Steven Giberson going to be the driver that goes off track for the 5 as he rolls down the hill into the S's. And already starting to see, this was around the time, Wesley, when we started to see those tires really start to flare up if you were too aggressive on them, as we're watching that of Sebastian Jackson trying to go on the outside, trying to make the pass here on that of Nathan Medina. Over aggressive, but both drivers keeping up the speed going into turn number 3.
Jackson Medina brake checking and putting up some smoke trails as well. Look at them work, slamming on the brakes. Brake dust and the dust as well on the back of the rear end of their cars as they work up the hill. This position goes on for 12th and 13th. Jackson, Gomillion, Medina all in this pack. As this goes on, they're also approaching halfway in about 5 more laps. This distance, 46 laps, 23 laps is halfway. The Vengeance Machine pulling away from John Deere Green, Nolan, as he's mirror driving him going through the S's around the corner.
And up into the final corner, Medina still holds on to 11th, with Jackson trying to see if he can work his way just one spot closer into the top 10. Still have to close with Andrew Kotska, though, who is a good 5 seconds still up the road. So Sebastian Jackson gonna have quite a little bit of work to do. Oh, both drivers locked up that time by up in the shell corner and through turn 2. As we take a look at a replay here.
This is going to be seen.
Wow.
Houston going to be one of the drivers. He's going to be having issues. We continue to watch the amazing racing action going on. This replay going to show drivers getting locked up, trying to come out of the final corner here. And this is when drivers were trying to get into pit road and just gets onto the throttle a little bit too soon, and then having issues going into pit road. Some drivers, I'm wondering here if, coming into pit road, it's such a difficult spot. You have to slow down so much. You're trying your best to keep your speed up. It's such a trouble spot as well, as you see the live action coming back up onto your screen. They're continuously racing on, and that's Sebastian Jackson going to be off course, losing over that of 5-6 positions for the 6 machine.
Yeah, Jackson way off the pace as he gets passed by a couple more cars as they work off of turn 12. Back down the front straightaway, and Jackson says, no harm, no foul. I'm coming down to the pit lane. John Deere Green in. And here's the thing, Nolan, that's a very sharp transition into that pit lane, especially when you're coming off of turn 12 at full speed, and then you got to get on the binders and snake your way, weasel your way into those between those yellow barriers. And you got to make sure you're not busted for speeding also when you go back to the corner on the restart and back to 1.
Really doesn't help that on top of all of that, the pit entry line is directly on the racing line. And that is not an exaggeration. It's at the point where my own little time graphic out here even shows on his drivers entering pit road when they're just following the racing line around the racetrack. It is that close as one driver wrecks as it starts to come up over the Yokohama Bridge. I do believe that might have potentially been Richard McClure in 23rd place. Lost it by himself, it would seem, coming up over the hill.
That's not the first time we've seen him struggle coming off the hill. That happened during race number 1, but it was much later in the race. Still 25 laps to go. You can come down, have some redemption at least, as you see this field of just evolved drivers coming into turn number 2, trying to keep each other safe. But all of the hard braking, you can tell that is some wear and tear on those tires. And once we get to that of 10, 5 laps to go, all the times that you've locked up your tires and really heated them up, worn down the tires more and more, you're going to be slipping and sliding, and it's just going to get progressively worse and worse each lap. And they got to keep that in mind as the drivers go up over the bridge and down into the most narrow and technical parts of the course.
They'll work their way to the S's, up to the Yokohama Tire Bridge and around the bridge, on top of the bridge, under the bridge. Now that sharp carousel now moves into the S's, under the bridge now again as they work their way again up the hill. Once they clear that, they make a hard right-hander. That's about a 180-degree angle there, and that makes everybody quickly get on the binders. Meanwhile, all of this action goes on. Slow traffic continues on, and methodically the battle of cat and mouse continues for the lead as we're closing in on halfway off the corner as they reach the start-finish line out of turn 12.
Through turn 12 as the field continues to cycle through and trying to get themselves further sorted more towards the end of the race. Out trouble from straightaway. Richard McClure just got put into the wall by Steve Giverson. The battle for 24th, and Giverson immediately going to move aside and let McClure through. But it's again a bit too physical out there, it seems, for some drivers' liking.
Well, they certainly are, and there's some other drivers that have had issues as we ride on board again with Doug Buchanan. And this is when things get a little more hot and heavy. We've got a train of lap traffic, and our leaders have to time it perfectly. And Wesley, we've seen this a lot on LSRTV when it's oval racing. And, you know, you try to use the lap traffic as a pick. Well, we might have to see road course racing-wise with these V8 supercars on how they're going to get through these corners as it's so tight and technical. Get hard on the brakes through the S's. And just like that, Doug Buchanan stuck side by side going through these corners.
Who wants it more? Lap traffic. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right, to the left, maybe in the middle, and I want to get it behind me. That's exactly what he wants to do. As right now, Todd is doing just that. Working his way. Todd pulling away. Buchanan under attack. More lap cars on the inside. That car now, the lap car on the right, decides to come to the pit lane, and now you're on board with Buchanan. That's David Gargaro, actually. As that goes on the racetrack, this is position number 15, 16, 17, 18. As we pull away from the battle going on for the lead here as they close past halfway.
Closing past halfway as we continue to dice our way around this racetrack, and in fact past halfway now. It will be 21 laps to go. Next time by the line as we get set to start lap 26 of 46 here from Orem Park. A couple of drivers coming to pit road, among them Brendan Victel, one of the drivers we were watching to see if he'd be able to come on into pit road earlier, and was in a bit of a fight for himself for the 16th spot.
Victel's going to come into pit road. Same for Maurice Gilmillion. Both came in that go around as we continue to watch and see drivers trying to make some of their biggest movers. And right now, riding on board with this David Gargaro Jr. and as well going to be having that of Mackenzie Milwin going to be in front of the 17 as we watch that. Robert Coving going to be in 14th, watching behind. And our biggest movers is Gargaro in the 17 and ahead of him the 3 of Milwink, who are going to be those two drivers up 18 positions from where they started only back in 30th and 31st position. Didn't have the race one that they wanted. Certainly for race 2, recovery, as we got 21 laps to go, coming to 20 to go. And we see Spencer Todd cross the line.
That vintage machine continues to hold his line as now there's contact back. He gets sideways. He gets slammed up into the wall barrier, almost into the U tires. And while that goes on, he's now got to keep on going. No harm, no foul for Howler Racing. As Howler Racing now with a problem, and he's going to come to the pit lane. And 20 laps to go when they come to the start-finish line.
And it was Brett Trozen that got around him. That is not at all what you want to see from 944, the Sargent's Place machine. For Dog Bear that just ran over Howler Racing and Jason McSparron into the final corner. Good news is, didn't look like it was too hard of a hit, so he's going to just be able to come on in, I imagine, get some fresh tires on that machine for getting himself back out there and set for the end of this race. It'll be 20 laps to go this time by, make it 19 to go once the leaders come back around to start finish, as you watch one of the Evolve machines trying to sort itself out throughout this field, as that I believe will be Spencer Todd, overall race leader, with W. Cannon still 8/10 of a second behind. I'm going to be honest here, Sam. I'm not too confident anymore that Buchanan's going to win this race.
No, I think Buchanan might have overcooked all that he had. He threw everything in the kitchen sink trying to get by Spencer Todd, and it really has not worked out to the best of the abilities. As we go tri-cam here, riding on board with that of Buchanan in the top right, rear going to be of Spencer Todd on the bottom right. But then you just see the battle cam. Both drivers going to be within a half a second of one another, and they've been like this since practically lap number 5. This close each and every lap. Sometimes you see Spencer Todd gain a 10th. Other times you see Buchanan close in a 10th, and it's always been this close, and just knowing one mistake could cost either one of these drivers a chance to win the second race here at on that of Oran Park Raceway for the Major Series round number 3 of the Landown 240, and it is currently Spencer Todd leading this race, as you see on screen, with Doug Buchanan, our winner from race 1 here today, trying to double down and win number 2.
Todd, Buchanan, cat and mouse, mano a mano, John Gerard, Ricky Bobby continuing to go at it as they work their way through the rumble strips, round the corner, now around the bend, now through the S's, and still, methodically, you can still count Buchanan in this. Todd's not gaining ground. He's just keeping average distance from him. As you watch that battle for the lead, here's a replay of something that just happened on racetrack with the number 9 car a moment ago off track, and that is the driver of the number 9. We're going to watch him, Joseph Homan, and Homan there trying to now close in on some more of those cars. Patience getting thin. There's contact. Look at that. Nowhere for Homan to go. No harm, no foul. They keep going. Richardson and others, and we still stay under the green because remember, there is no yellow flag, Nolan Rim. But again, no gain lost, no gain earned. These two drivers continue to practice distancing with one another. The question is, who's playing possum? Who's saving their equipment? Or is it all used up, as you both said earlier, with 18 to go?
With the gas back down to about 0.3 of a second, and honestly, this is what it's been like, right, Sam? You kind of see the gap extend out to about a second, then it closes into about 1/4 of a second at the very most, but then it starts to extend right back out again. It's like they can't decide who's going to be out in front and who's going to end up being the leader of this race, and someone's a bit of a debate between the two of us. Who's faster as the number 15 car for Dog Bear has gone around. The number 15 car already was lap trapping as Daniel Howard. That goes for a spin. That is unfortunate for Dog Bear, having yet more problems, and that was just over the Yokohama Bridge.
Yeah, and Howard's going to be losing that 3 positions. But for Spencer Todd and Doug Buchanan, I'm looking at their lap times, and I'm getting slightly concerned for the both of them. They have been putting down screamers lap after lap, just dueling and not wanting to give each other an inch. we talked about it. Fuel could be an issue for those that are not thinking about saving fuel. Doug Buchanan had over a 7 to an 11, sometimes even a 10-second lap lead over second place. For the majority is Ogo Jackson goes drifting into the third corner and holds on. But fuel could be an issue for these drivers, Wesley. And I'm curious with how hard the front two are pushing one another that it could be someone that's in third, fourth, or even fifth place that could potentially steal this one away.
Jackson, in the words of Paul Simon's famous song, was slip sliding away. He'll work his way through the rumble strips and still hold on to that spot. Meanwhile, there goes again that number 6 machine, Sebastian Jackson, holding on. Here comes now more cars fighting, battling for position as 18 and 72 now duke it out. That's Brendan Fichtel and Robert Covey going on inside the top 20. Just some of the other great battles, Nolan, working down the front straightaway as we approach 15 laps to go here in the Landown 240 of the Twin 46 lapsters here at O'Ran Park.
Gonna be 15 to go this time by at the start-finish line. There's a fight under the Yokohama Bridge, and that is going to be with the likes of a couple of those drivers. Oh, contact! It is one of the Mad Racing cars that gets punted off all the way into shell corner. That was Andrew Kotska that got sent around for 8th.
Kotska, who's just been staying up around the 5th place position for race 1 and race 2, finally gets punted out of the way. And for the 047, he's got a lot of work now, going to be over 6.5 seconds back as we take another look at this. I mean, drivers were being aggressive here, trying to hold off as strong as they were. But Wesley, I mean, there's no more give anymore. Everyone's taking every measure they can. There's only 15 more laps here at O'Ran Park.
It's like taking your high school sweetheart on Valentine's Day night. Best friends become enemies. Patience has wore thin. It's time to go for any corners, any gain you need. Time to make that move. Time to come to the front. Time to get as many points as you can, Nolan Rimple, because remember the points were split. These Twin 46 lappers, yeah, aggression here, it's going to be that way. And remember, you can punch somebody, you ain't got to worry about a caution flag. Move them out of the way, get up to the front. It's time to get your spots and clear some points.
And you can still see the fight for the race lead still sticking close. It has never broken away by more than 1.5 seconds from lights out. But it has been Spencer Todd, who has so far led all but one of the laps in tonight's race, and looking set to lead the last 14 as well, but they are still kind of worried about lap traffic. You can see Jason Lottridge in 11th place, just ahead of them. And Lottridge not having an easy time around this track himself, so that is no doubt backing Spencer Todd up a little bit because he does not want to take the risk that Lottridge will clip the grass and spin right across his line as he's trying to pass him.
These are the points of the racetrack where you do not want to see someone get spun around, but lap traffic gave an opportunity for Buchanan to potentially go for a pass earlier this race, but that lap traffic also hindered the 8 from being able to make a move. But I mean, for this positioning right now, looking good. Buchanan, the closest he's been. Lap traffic going to go low, just give the leaders all the space that they need going into the dog leg, but gotta wait as you're gonna be seeing the space finally cleared out. Clear is the 8 machine, and now the hard braking zone into the Coca-Cola corner.
Have at it, boys. Through the Coca-Cola corner, they go to 1 and 2. Up under the Yokohama Tire Bridge, under it, reeling in. That car got out of the way, said, let's you guys battle it for the win. And meanwhile, here comes now Buchanan trying so now to close in on Todd. He'll make a move on driver right. Driver left is Todd. Todd will work up the hill. Half a car length back. They'll work around the corner. Through the S's now, Nolan. And still open up that lead as Todd's now pulling away with 13 to go. Through the S's now. Buchanan losing ground.
Remember, though, every time that gap is extended, it's shrunk back in. And just like that, Buchanan's back and closer than ever. 2/10 away. Buchanan not done fighting for the race win just yet. How desperate is he going to get with coming to 12 laps left to go? And now with nobody behind to worry about, it was about an 8-second gap last time by. Remember, Sam, for the race lead between first, second. How about a 17-second gap between first, second, and then third? It is absolutely insane at the moment how much faster these guys have been in the second race. You wonder if maybe they're turning the wick up a little bit just because they're battling with each other so hard at the moment.
It certainly is kind of a wake-up moment for us. We're starting to see at least how close they can get. And Doug Buchanan, I got to give credit. The entry of the corners is where the 8 is finding that speed, but it's the exit. Spencer Todd, been finding so much speed as that of Jason McPherson going to be on our top. That right bottom going to be our bottom right, going to be finding the drivers that are battling up inside of our top 12. But got to say for that of this seeing the 8 machine, he's getting so close, but it's been the exit, Wesley. He just has not been able to get back into the throttle as good as we've been seeing Spencer Todd, and that's why the 28's been able to defend so well. You just see the launch out of the corner, and Todd's gone just in an instant.
You've heard of the term tiny and loose off, used in oval racing, in pavement. Well, the same thing can be said here about these drivers now with Todd. Todd is getting great execution in a way when he exits off the corners. Now, Buchanan is getting a lot of momentum moving into the corners. That one little slip, you see it right where he starts to close in. But again, Nolan, as that mistake's made by Buchanan, Todd hits his marks, exiting off the corner, going up the hill. It's like in stealth mode now. He knows it's down to the home stretch with 10 laps to go when they come to the line this time by off Coca-Cola corner.
And I can guarantee you that is really starting to play on Buchanan's mind. He wants to go for the double. That is, of course, such a difficult task to do in any racing event, but especially a track like this. I mentioned at the top of the broadcast that we're going to be seeing a lot of the overtakes that are actually on track being made in the first 5 laps or so. And then from there, it'll be just drivers going off track. And case in point, there's another Forge car off the road. That is Greg McGeady. He is not a part of any battle that we were currently watching on your screens, but it again goes to show that we have not really been seeing a whole lot of on-track overtakes so far, really throughout the course of this event, outside of those first 10 laps, unless people are making mistakes. It is just that difficult. That is just how Oran Park drives.
It's been so hard. We're currently watching the battling for this of 20th position, watching that of Giberson trying his best on everything possible to make these passes, but just showing it's so difficult to find the right opportunities. You got to be hoping that you can find the most momentum out of the corner, and really it's out of this final corner where the drivers need to get into the throttle so much sooner, set themselves up so they can be side by side coming into turn 1 at the dog leg and go into the Coca-Cola corner with an opportunity to the inside. That's the best chance to make a pass here at Oran Park, because everywhere else it's just so narrow. There's not a good opportunity anywhere else unless you force the driver ahead of you to make a mistake.
That going on around the S's now again, as that's the 8 of Brendan, Victor, McSparron, Howard in the back of the pack inside the top 20. Just some of the other races that are going on. We're approaching under 10 laps to go. It is now time, Mr. Rimple, to lay your cards on the table, just like we did in round 2 at Daytona, where it's time to make some bump and runs and find out who your friends are and even your enemies. The same thing can be said here at Oran Park in the Landown 240. Who's going to take it to the Landown under and make themselves be put in high places to be the winner here in race number 2? Buchanan has been playing possum, staying in the bridesmaid spot all night long. It's now time to show what you've got, or Spencer Todd took this man to school since the drop of the green. 9 to go, and they work their way for the lead again around the corner.
Still half a second separating the two of them, and it is getting oh so close, and sooner or later it will come to a head as we continue to observe your battle for the race lead, and this is where it gets a little bit more crazy. Buchanan almost gave the bumper to Spencer Todd through the final corner last time by, because the 28th place driver of Brian Scrivener did check up that of Spencer Todd, and that allowed Buchanan to close on in. But now the gap once again extending out to about half a second and deeper in the field. This is the battle for 11th and 10th. First car's a lap down. Same position really that the leaders are at the moment. Nick Horvath versus Robert Gamble. What do these drivers do in their own little battle for the final spot inside the top 10? Which, by the way, involves, conveniently enough, yet another Evolve driver.
Yeah, I mean, all these drivers putting on a show here tonight, and as we're watching right now, gonna be for watching these guys. I mean, the pressure is on to make sure that you're running up front and the best that you can. But for our leaders, they're still putting down some of the fastest laps here tonight. It's the driver in third that I'm most keeping my eyes on. That's going to be Murphy. That of Murphy Nichols as another driver goes off track. That's going to be the 22 who's been struggling for most of the night. McPherson who goes off course. But here comes going to be a chance to the inside. Buchanan not close enough, but certainly starting to show his cards that he might try to want to go into this inside. But Wesley, with 7 laps to go, fuel could be an issue for our front two still. That has to be kept on reminded. They can make it all the way to the end, but that's if they were trying to save from the start of the race.
Buchanan winning race number 1. The interval was almost 11 seconds. Now he's been playing blocker car, and that's Todd. Todd's been trying to hold him off back and forth. Every time they get around lap traffic, quickly get around him, or the lap cars say, have at it, boys. And the interval now separates for the top 2. It's now almost close to 3-4 seconds back. The interval now with 7 to go. Todd around the S's. Here comes Buchanan around the S's. He loses ground to them again as they come to the line this time by Nolan Rimple up the hill. Coming to the start-finish line off turn 12 and 6 to go this time by back to 1.
6 laps left to go, and Buchanan, I think, might have used all of this stuff up. He has not been able to realistically close that gap in. He has been trying his hardest, but it has not been a very smooth run the last little while. Buchanan has only been slipping a bit further back. I'm starting to believe here, Sam, that he has burned all of his stuff up. I don't think Buchanan's got anything left in the tank, but he is going to give it everything he's got to try to get past Spencer Todd. But I think Spencer Todd and potentially even Buchanan is starting to realize it's a dying hope at this point in time.
But we see the lap cars ahead. That's what's giving a little bit more life to that of Doug Buchanan. Is the more that there's lap traffic ahead, it can, I mean, it's a double-sided sword. It either can help you or it can hurt you by coming up to this lap traffic. And for this 8 machine, he's over for the best. A huge dive bomb move into the final corner, not close enough. And that's going to give Todd a great launch out of the corner and grow this lead even more than what it was before.
Coming down to the line off turn 12, down to the start-finish line, 5 laps to go. Open hand from your flagman. Here is something that might be having Buchanan grin ear to ear now, Nolan and Samuel. Lap cars on the horizon. A bad mood rising down the stretch for Mad Sim Racing. Here comes Todd Buchanan. Lap cars galore at the home stretch here in the Landown 240 race number 2. They're around the S's and up the hill.
It's not over yet. Doug Buchanan still has got the opportunity to get by if one of these lap cars, and it only takes one, really checks out the Evolve driver. You got a Forge car in the mix of this. You've got Spencer Todd trying to get past Greg McKinney. Here comes Doug Buchanan, and it will be McKinney to move his way out of the way of the race leaders. He wants no part in this battle for the race win. Buchanan launches again, but there's still not enough space for him to make it stick.
The ebbs, the flows. The last section of this course is all about finding your rhythm, and it was that of Buchanan so close. Almost had an opportunity, but it's Spencer Todd every time coming out of the last corner just gives the best chance for the 23 to gap himself going into these hard braking zones. This is where Doug Buchanan can catch up and gain some time. But in front of our leaders, it's a battle for positioning. This is what's going on for that of 26th and 27th position. And for Spencer Todd, he's hoping he can find some space to get by and just make this pass so easy, as he's got Torres and Gomillion that are trying their best to battle against one another and not just wipe out the leaders.
They clear around the Yokohama Tire corner. Now make their way through the S's with now into 3 to go. It's the battle of cat and mouse here is now also Todd makes Buchanan slip just a little bit, battling but more laps traffic. There they come, working on the corner, up the hill, through the S's again, up to turn 10, 11, and 12. The mouse goes this way, you slap him with paw. The mouse goes left, you slap him with the psych, you throw the block. You want to do everything you can, Nolan, to be at the top, as Todd's trying to do all he can to hold him off. And you also got to be thinking fuel conservation for both of these cars. Win, win, win through the lap traffic as they work through the Coca-Cola corner with 3 to go.
3 laps to go, and Buchanan gets past another lap car. That was Javier Perez-Torres, and now the next one in line, Maurice Gomillion, and they're catching up to Alonzo King and Gerard Gilbert, who are in a battle of their own for 24th place. That's another thing to note here. A lot of these lap cars are battling with each other, which means they're not going to be as inclined to move out of the way. This is going to get intense. Todd almost runs off the course. Doug Buchanan all over the back, and there's the bumper to the back end of the number 28. It's starting to pick up here at Orion Park, coming in 2 to go, and Doug Buchanan getting all the stops out, getting the gloves out. No move made to the S's. There's no space to make it work. Maybe they'll be dares for it into the final corner, but he backed off too much that time by.
You bob, you weave, you've got still 4, 5 more lap cars to go, and it's going to be Spencer Todd trying to get by that of the 044, and he has not been able to get by that of Gomillion, but Gomillion very nicely just gets out of the way. 2 laps to go. It's Spencer Todd, Doug Buchanan. They've been 0.3 over a half a second. At one point, it was 1.2 seconds when it was 3 laps into this race number 2, but it's been 3 to a half a second tenths from one another, and it's been Spencer Todd leading practically every single lap of this race number 2, and it's Doug Buchanan. Wesley's got a lap and a half to find some type of speed or give the bump to try to go for a win.
You got to be wondering as they work their way up a hill around the Yokohama Tire Bridge, around through the S's now, up into turns number 8 and 9. Todd still in the lead, Buchanan trying to close in. They once again methodically found somehow, some way to get through lap traffic, whether it was the lap cars moving out of the way in a nice congeniality way, or they had to rough some cars up through the S's. They get ready to come into turn number 10, 11, and 12. He's now ready to make his move. Buchanan, one more time to the CRN, 1 to go. The gloves are off as they go to turn 1 for the final time.
Down to turn number 1. Can Doug Buchanan get by him? He's got 1 more lap to get it done. Spencer Todd hanging on under the Yokohama Bridge. There's still lap cars up the road. It's Giberson versus Alonzo King. Just in front of your battle for the race lead. Will that have a say in how this fight plays on out? Buchanan closing in every single corner, 0.3 of a second, and it is holding strong. Spencer Todd trying to weather the storm as they enter the second half of the final lap.
Lap traffic going to be the final factor here. Will our lap traffic get out of the way as they're going through the S's? One of the fastest rhythm sections. Spencer Todd, that of Doug Buchanan, going to be your front 2. Lap traffic ahead. They're going to be trying to go side by side. It's going to be Spencer Todd picking the record in front of the leaders, holding on. And there goes Todd into the grass, holding on. Buchanan lets off. He lets a chance. One more dive, and he could not get it done. Spencer Todd, even contact from lap traffic, finds himself winning race number 2 at the Landown 240. And how in the world did he get it done?
Are you kidding me?
Oh my goodness.
I'm speechless. Absolutely speechless.
I mean, yes, lap cars are battling for position. They're going to make contact, but to think Spencer Todd held on to that. When you hit the grass, we've seen every other driver lose it, spin it, they're done. The 28 holds on, and I got to say, big kudos to the 8. I think Doug Buchanan might have let off just slightly, seeing the way that went down, because that was crazy. Then he made a final dash into the last corner. Wasn't enough. It was Spencer Todd winning race number 2 here tonight. They had enough fuel, and what a spectacular finish here from down under.
Samuel, I think that there was a little give there when the contact was made with the lap car when Todd went in the grass by Buchanan. Watch this one more time. I think Buchanan kind of said, all right, buddy, I'm going to back off here. And then he said, oh, man, I'm regretting this. This could have been his move right here. But then here's another thing, Nolan. He's blocked. Where can Buchanan go? Lap car, spinning Todd coming off the grass. He really didn't have no choice in the matter but to just try to back off and not get caught up in an accident and settle for the bridesmaid spot.
What a move and what a race. We're going to take a look at this one on board from Doug Buchanan, and this is going to be a ride. And you'll get to see exactly how this whole thing will develop as we get set to take one final look. Doug Buchanan gets, he spins it out ahead. You see the live cars right there's the tip. Both drivers hit the brakes, and there goes Todd. Buchanan had to sling off to avoid getting run over, and he got brake tested. I think he tried to lunge for it. He tried to lunge for it and got brake tested into the final corner was forced to swing wide.
I was listening in. I mean, you could hear the engine and getting back into the throttle. I mean, Doug Buchanan, I think he might have gotten also distracted on the fact that, holy cow, this just happened coming to the final corner. Gets into the throttle late, which gives him too much speed. Couldn't get into the braking zone. Threw off the 8 from even having an opportunity, but I think the biggest kudo has to go to the 28 of Spencer Todd for even holding on after that contact and being able to say that he won here for race number 2 for the majors, round 3 of that of the Orland Park Raceway for the Landown 240. Spectacular 2 races, and I mean, we got to take a look here at what the results were because it was a wild finish here. And it was spectacular, guys. It was a pleasure to have you up in the booth with us with this one. But here we go, taking a look. This is actually going to be for race number 1's results, as it's going to be that of Doug Buchanan and Spencer Todd finding themselves in these positionings. And then you're also going to be seeing all these drivers cycling through as actually taking a look at where this results were. I'm trying to figure, I think this might be from practice on the timing and scoring of these drivers on where we're finding this information, because as we look at the rest of this of race number 1 and the information on that, but guys, I mean, what a finish there at where these guys finished in that second race.
Samuel, I'm not a fan of road courses. Obviously, as we look at the results here of race number 2, Spencer Todd, almost half a second. The interval, 0.478 seconds back. The rest of the top 10, pretty good job there. How about Robert Gamble? Only 9 cars, 8 cars on the lead lap. Everyone else a lap down. And that just shows you, Nolan, how methodically Todd and Buchanan dissected the field. 1 lap, 2 laps, multiple laps. Remember, no caution flags. This was a good one. And like I said, I'm normally not a fan of road course racing. Man, was this some good road course racing tonight at Orland Park. Wow.
Oh, yeah, it was by far one of the better races you could have at a track like this. I mean, that's about as good of a race as you can have at Orland Park on iRacing, right? I mean, it is by far not the easiest of tracks. It's a hard track to race at, and that's about as good as you could ask for a race like this. That was absolutely phenomenal.
Spectacular racing, and I cannot wait to get it from the driver's point of view. So we're going to step aside for a quick moment. When we come back, we're going to talk to our top 3 drivers. Even we might talk to some of the drivers from that of our first race. It was a good one. We got the post-race show in just a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show. As we've got the drivers from the from the Major Series, round number 3, from that of the Landown 240. What a race it was for the American Sportsman Split 1. We're going to start things off with third place runner from race number 1. We've got that of Joe Homan here. Joe, you finished out in third place for that of race number 1. You came away 5th for race number 2, but overall, how was your experience there on Oran Park Raceway here today?
I thought the experience was great. It was a really fun race and a really fun track. It's definitely tough driving these cars on this track consistently, but I knew we were going to have like a good set, and we definitely put in the time for this race, so I felt very confident going in. And then I think I saw the Euro race, and I realized I had to like learn how to save fuel, so I spent a bunch of time doing that today.
And Nolan, do you got a question?
Well, I honestly have to just put it this way. I mean, Joe, you had yourself a solid race. It didn't kind of come together quite for a podium in the third race, but I have to say, you had a solid run regardless to finish third in the first race. With this great result for you tonight, do you think you'll be able to capitalize on that one coming on over into round 4?
I think us as a team for UDOX will definitely put the work in and get a good setup for the race. We've done pretty well in like these open wheel oval races the last couple of years, so I'm definitely confident we're going to be competitive next round.
And we're excited to see how it goes. Well, Joe, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank my teammates at UDOX, our sponsors, Insert Coin, Simability, and we were doing a special scheme this round, since you can put like a lot on the side of our sponsor or our charity CureMG Lim.
Well, Joe, it was a fabulous run for yourself, and here tonight, third place going to be for that first race, 5th for the second. An overall great consistent run as a whole, and good luck going into next week. Into that of the next race, going into Phoenix.
Thanks. I hope it's not next week, man.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of racing. But no, we'll see you in the next round, whenever that one comes around. As we're now going to move over to our winner from race 1, second place here for race 2. We're going to be finding ourselves with Doug Buchanan. And Doug, you dominated that first race. Second one, though, wasn't the same story. A little bit of a hard race for yourself. Same question that I asked Joe. How was your experience here at Oran Park Raceway?
Yeah, it sure is something new. I haven't spent a ton of time in these cars, and this track combination is very challenging, very tight, and just nowhere to pass. So it was a real challenge, but it was a lot of fun. Tried my best to get Spencer to make a mistake or something there in the second race, but he did a great job. So it was a lot of fun. Really happy about this one today.
And Nolan?
Well, I have to kind of address the elephant in the room here, Doug. You won the first race, but you were so close to the second race. Why don't you walk us through how it was looking from your perspective for the finish of that second race there?
Yeah, I guess I got to start working on my standing starts, that's for sure, because Spencer was able to take me both times. And, I think the first race he had a little bit of an issue, a lockup or something. It gave it back to me, but the second race he was, pretty much flawless there. So I get to have to work on my standing starts. That second race was phenomenal. It was so much fun, so intense. I think about 2 laps ago, we started catching up to a big group of lap cars, and I thought, well, this is my best chance to try and take advantage of something. I'd been pushing him all race long as hard as I could, trying to, save fuel and hope that he couldn't save enough. Hope that he maybe would burn out his tires or burn too much fuel, and, I could get it that way, because it was, he did such a good job placing his car in all the right spots on track and really deserved that victory. So that was a tough one, and I felt bad for him right at that end there. Was hoping to take it, but he deserved the win there.
Doug, you certainly you noted on it, fuel. We also heard from Joe's interview. At what point did you realize here today, or did you already know that you were going to have to save fuel to make it all the way through this race without pitting?
Yeah, we knew that the fuel strategy was going to be good. Like, if it made sense to save fuel, that was the strategy. We were actually more worried about tires because these cars are so easy to lock up, especially going into that turn one with that little kink into turn one there. So easy to lock up an inside tire, and you just burn them out so quickly. So we were actually more concerned about tire strategy than fuel. Once we made a couple changes, the guys on my team did a great job. We worked really hard on this setup, and we made a couple changes that helped us keep our tire wear under control, and then we just had to bring it home with the fuel strategy.
And you certainly did bring it home with one of the most consistent runs here today. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Obviously to my family for all the support they give me for all the time I put into this, but especially my teammate guys over at Sim Racing. They did a great job. We brought 3 cars out tonight. I think all 3 in the top 10 both races. So just goes to show what a great job everybody did working on the setup and putting in the time and practice. So thanks a lot to the guys at Sim Racing. Thanks, guys.
That's going to be the 8 of W. Cannon, coming away with his first place win on race number 1 and a second place here for race number 2. As for race 2, it was all that of Spencer Todd, able to hold on and stay up front. Spencer, you've come away second after rebounding after your lockup and falling back to 7th, climbing your way up to second for that first race. The second race, though, you stayed up front. You led every lap. Give us your thoughts of running here tonight, because it seemed like a roller coaster up here in the booth.
Yeah, honestly, first of all, thanks to you guys for the great broadcast. I can't wait to watch it back. But this car and track combo is pretty mega. It demands a lot from the drivers, and yeah, it was a fun one to learn. I think that there's really no downtime on this track. You have maybe a couple seconds to look down at your tack on the front straightaway, but other than that, you're pretty occupied the entire time. So it was definitely challenging from a driver perspective, but those are the races that I enjoy the most.
And kind of cutting back to what I asked Doug just a moment ago, Spencer, obviously it was a very hectic final lap. You had Doug breathing down your neck, and all of a sudden, lap traffic kind of has a hand to say in your fight just ahead of you. Walk us through what it was like for you out there on that final lap.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to take a second and say congrats to Doug. He drove a flawless race as well. I think I did make a couple mistakes, even though he's given me a bit more credit than that. But I have to say that he drove super clean. He didn't chuck it in there if he wasn't certain about making it clean, and I really appreciate that type of driving. So kudos to Doug on a great drive there as well. A great drive in the first race, grabbing the win. But as for the last lap, that was probably the worst case that I could have envisioned in the second last corner of the last lap. We had to deal with a lot of lap traffic this race, and I knew Doug was right there, and I knew he was trying to capitalize. I was just trying to, frankly, not get taken out, and that is pretty much exactly what happened in the second last corner. Thankfully, I didn't smack the wall, and I was able to kind of drift back onto the track, and thankfully, Doug was a heads-up enough driver to give a bit of room for that. So yeah, it was wild. I couldn't have pictured it any differently.
Well, Spencer, it was an incredible run even for us to be watching up in the booth. And how much did that first race really help you going into the second race for yourself?
It helped a lot. I think going into this race as a team, we had not originally planned on doing a no stop and conserving fuel. We were planning to splash a little bit at the end, but after seeing some of the Euro race, we did a kind of a last minute Hail Mary call to switch our strategy. And after the first race, I knew that I could save enough fuel to have, I guess, at least one lap surplus at the end. So I didn't have to worry too much about it in the second race. I think, I had a bit of nerves, frankly, going into the first race, and I made that mistake and allowed Doug to get by. That was simply me driving in my mirror, which is a bad habit, and I paid the price for it. So just was thankful to be able to come back onto the track with no damage on my car, despite a rub of the wall.
Well, it was still a spectacular run. Yourself and Zug going to be coming away with practically the same amount of points, both finishing first and second through your races. But here tonight, before we let you go, gotta give the floor to you. Shoutouts if you got them.
Yeah, just first and foremost, thanks to LSRTV again for the broadcast. You guys are doing a great job so far this year, and I know I want to give a thanks to my mom, dad, and my father-in-law, or future father-in-law, who are watching the race. So they usually tune in. So shout out to them, and also just a big thanks to Evolve Sim Sports for giving me a great car. Specifically, want to give kudos to Andrew and Kevin, as they worked pretty tirelessly on this set, and I felt pretty comfortable with what we had at the end. So, and just a couple sponsors I want to thank real quick. We've got Direct Innovations LLC, Tranco Production Machines, and More Adness on the car. So I hope we got them some good airtime tonight.
It certainly did. That's going to be Spencer Todd in the 28, second place during that of our first race, winning here for our second in a spectacular fashion. Congratulations on your win and a consistent run here tonight, and good luck on your next race there, Spencer.
Thanks, guys.
Well, for us up in the booth, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back in just a few to give our final thoughts on tonight's event.
This is our series,
So many different pieces that you have to watch out for.
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it? They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our final thoughts up here in the booth for the Major Series Round 3 here, as they were just running at Orem Park for the Landown 240 Sportsman Series Split 1. I mean, guys, it was an incredible race here tonight, as I cannot believe how that first race was just dominated by Buchanan. And that second race was a blast to watch. Wesley, I'll let you have your first final thoughts, as this was incredible to be seen.
I thought both races were great, different storylines, and as I always tell people, as us as broadcasters, whether it's virtual or reality, you're telling a story. And those plots and those chapters is what we saw here in race number 1. Buchanan, sheer domination. 11 seconds when the race finished. And Nolan Rimple, race number 2. Man, I'm telling you, Spencer Todd figured out something. He said, hey, I'm going to hang with you. I'm going to run for your money. Those lap cars, man, I was on the edge of my seat that last lap as well, guys. I know y'all were, because I literally thought, he's wrecked. This is a big crash. Here comes Buchanan, going to steal one. That wasn't the case. What a great job by Todd to win.
It
certainly was. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, Sam.
No, I was just going to throw it over to you for your thoughts. I mean, it certainly was a spectacular finish there.
Oh, I think a spectacular finish is a bit beyond words at this point for what we just saw. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, possibly one of the best finishes I've ever seen at this track, and quite possibly one of the best races you could possibly see at a track like Orem Park on iRacing. And I have to tell you what, loved every single second of it. And you know they're only going to be providing more races like that across all sorts of different disciplines throughout the remaining races in the Majors 2022 season.
I cannot wait for the rest of the season. This is only round number 3 of 14. Nolan, I want to give a big thanks to you. I know you were part of our first and now tonight, third race. I know you're not going to be able to come back for a couple of more races to come, and big thanks on that. Wesley as well, thank you for joining us these last couple events. The next one, though, for us at LSR TV, round 4. It is going to be the Lotuses, going to be at that of Phoenix, and I cannot wait to see how that goes. Wesley, what thoughts do you got?
You see me grinning? It's not only the fact that I've been on the flag stand all day getting sun. I'm grinning because I'm blushing, like you said. I think of the Carpet World Classic. I think of those races back in the day at Phoenix Raceway. And now we're going to have Lotus cars. Man, this is going to be fun. I can't wait until April the 3rd.
I mean, today was a splash of the past. We got to see that of Orem Park, a racetrack that is now gone. It's not even raceable anymore. Racing with cars that aren't even on track anymore, really, as they are now the legends. And even can't wait for the next round. We get to see the Lotus 79s racing at Phoenix. It's going to be a blast. Cannot wait for it. And thank you again for joining us. My name is Sam Dyer. We had Wesley Allen, and see him on our top right. We had that of Nolan Rempel on your bottom right. Thank you for joining us here tonight on LSR TV. A blast at the Major Series. Round 4. We'll see you April 3rd. Have a great rest of your night.